The archaeological site on Caledonia 4th had been operating for 3 months before they found the ring. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, the colony's chief archaeologist, stood at the edge of the excavation pit and stared at what her team had uncovered. 23 feet in diameter, composed of a material that defied every analysis tool they possessed, covered in symbols that predated every known written language in the Federation database. "It's beautiful," her assistant Lieutenant Marcus Webb said from beside her. "But what is it?" "I have no idea," Chen admitted. "And that terrifies me." Caledonia 4th was a Class M world on the edge of Federation space. Barely 10,000 colonists. Established only 5 years ago to study the planet's unusual concentration of archaeological ruins. The colonists had expected to find evidence of a pre-warp civilization, maybe some pottery or primitive tools. Instead, they'd found this, a massive ring device buried 30 meters underground, pristine, despite being at least 50,000 years old according to preliminary dating. "We need to contact Starfleet," Chen decided. "This is beyond our expertise. We need—" "Already done," Webb interrupted, pointing at the sky. "And they're here." The USS Enterprise dematerialized in orbit 3 hours later, her massive saucer section gleaming in Caledonia's sun. Captain Jean-Luc Picard beamed down with an away team that included Commander Data, Lieutenant Commander Geordi LaForge, and Dr. Beverly Crusher. Picard stood at the pit's edge, studying the ring with the practiced eye of someone who'd encountered countless alien artifacts over 20 years in Starfleet. "Remarkable. Data analysis." Data's yellow eyes scanned the device, processing information faster than any human could comprehend. "The material is composed of an unknown heavy element, Captain. Molecular structure suggests technology far beyond current Federation capabilities. Age approximately 50,000 years, plus or minus 5,000. Purpose unknown. Cultural origin unknown. The symbols inscribed on the ring's surface do not match any language in our database." "Could it be Iconian?" Picard asked, referencing one of the few known precursor civilizations. "Negative, sir. The construction methodology is completely different. This technology predates the Iconians by at least 20,000 years. Geordi ran his tricorder over the ring's surface. "Captain, I'm reading massive power conduits built into the structure. This thing was designed to channel enormous amounts of energy. And there's something else." He moved to the ring's base, where symbols were arranged in a specific pattern. "These aren't random, they're coordinates. Or addresses. I think this is some kind of transportation device." "Transportation to where?" Beverly asked. "Everywhere," Data replied, having completed his analysis. "Based on the mathematical precision of the symbol arrangement and the energy distribution network, this device appears designed for instantaneous travel across interstellar or possibly intergalactic distances. It is in essence a gateway." Picard felt a chill run down his spine. A transportation network 50,000 years old. A network that predated the Federation, the Klingons, the Romulans, possibly every known spacefaring civilization. If this device still functioned, if others like it existed across the galaxy, we need to determine if it's still operational, Picard decided, but carefully. We have no idea what activating this device might do. "Data, can you interface with its control systems?" "Unknown, Captain. However, I detect what appears to be a control panel here." Data indicated a pedestal near the ring's base, partially buried, with symbols matching those on the ring itself. "I may be able to activate the device by inputting a sequence." "Do it," Picard ordered, "but be prepared to shut it down immediately if anything unexpected happens." Data's fingers moved over the control panel, testing different symbol combinations with android precision. On his 5th attempt, something changed. The ring hummed, a deep resonant sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Symbols on the ring began to glow with blue-white light, activating in sequence. "Captain, massive energy buildup," Geordi shouted. "The ring is drawing power from I don't know where. Subspace. A quantum field. This is off the scale." The center of the ring exploded with light. Not an explosion, but an instantaneous formation of what looked like a vertical pool of shimmering water. The event horizon stabilized, rippling gently, contained perfectly within the ring's circumference. "Fascinating," Data observed. "The ring has created a stable wormhole. Destination unknown. The energy required to maintain this is..." Something emerged from the wormhole. 4 figures stepped through the event horizon as casually as walking through a door. They wore unfamiliar military uniforms, olive drab and black, with patches indicating Earth origin but not Starfleet. 3 of them carried weapons immediately. A design Picard didn't recognize, more compact than phasers but clearly dangerous. The 4th figure, a large man with a golden tattoo on his forehead, carried what looked like a staff weapon. The lead figure, a man in his 50s with gray hair and a sardonic expression, raised his weapon and aimed it directly at Picard. "Nobody move. Hands where I can see them. Who the hell are you people and how did you get access to a Stargate?" Picard raised his hands slowly, noting his away team doing the same. His tactical training registered details. These people moved with military precision. Their weapons discipline was excellent, and they seemed completely unsurprised to find people on the other end of what they'd called a Stargate. "I am Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. We mean you no harm. We discovered this device during an archaeological excavation, and were attempting to determine its function. Apparently we succeeded." The gray-haired man didn't lower his weapon. "Federation Starship? What the hell is that supposed to mean? And you're telling me you accidentally dialed a Stargate without knowing what it was?" "If by dialed you mean activated this device, then yes," Picard confirmed. "This is a Federation colony world. We found this ring buried underground. We had no idea it was a functional transportation system or that it connected to anywhere inhabited. I assure you, this was purely accidental." A younger woman in the group, blonde, with technical patches on her uniform, lowered her weapon slightly and stepped forward. "Colonel O'Neill, their uniforms. I recognize that design from Earth history. That's a Starfleet uniform. Early 24th century style." The gray-haired man, O'Neill, kept his weapon trained on Picard, but his expression shifted from hostile to confused. "Starfleet, as in Star Trek Starfleet. The TV show." "TV show?" Picard repeated, baffled. "Sir," Data interjected carefully, "I believe I understand the confusion. The energy signature of the wormhole suggests it may have connected us to a point in space or time that differs from our present location. If these individuals originate from Earth's past—" "We're not from the past," another member of the group interrupted, a young man with glasses and academic bearing. "Well, technically we're from your past, but we're not historical. I'm Dr. Daniel Jackson. This is Colonel Jack O'Neill, Major Samantha Carter, and Teal. We're SG-1, and we work for an organization called Stargate Command on Earth." "What year is it for you?" 270, Picard replied. "By Earth's Gregorian calendar." Daniel's eyes widened. "We're from 2002. You're from our future. 368 years in our future. That explains the Starfleet uniforms. You're actually from the Federation, the United Federation of Planets. From Star Trek." "Star Trek is not fiction," Picard said carefully. "It is our history, or our future, from your perspective. The Federation was founded in 2161. Earth unified under a world government in 2150. First contact with the Vulcans occurred in 2163. All of this is well-documented historical fact." "Holy crap," Jack muttered, finally lowering his weapon. "So you're saying Star Trek was real? That's our actual future?" "Apparently so," Picard replied, lowering his hands as the tension decreased. "Though I'm more interested in understanding your present. You called this device a Stargate. You clearly use it regularly. How many of these exist? Where do they connect? And who built them?" Sam Carter stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding military caution. "The Stargates were built by a race called the Ancients. We don't know their real name. Approximately 50 million years ago. There are thousands of them spread across the Milky Way galaxy, with additional networks in other galaxies. Each gate has a unique address based on stellar constellation positions. They allow instant travel between gates across interstellar or intergalactic distances. We've been using Earth's Stargate for 6 years. 50 million years, Geordi breathed. And they still function perfectly. The engineering involved in that is beyond anything we fully understand, Sam agreed. "But Captain Picard, I have to ask. If you're from 2370, why are you just now discovering Stargates? In our timeline, humanity found Earth's Stargate in 1928. You should have records of this." Picard exchanged glances with Data. We have no records of any device called a Stargate. Earth's archaeological records from the early 20th century contain no mention of such a discovery. It's possible that in your timeline, different timelines, Daniel interrupted. That's the only explanation. The Stargate created a connection not just across space, but across quantum realities. We're from an alternate timeline where Stargates were discovered and used extensively in the early 20s. You're from a timeline where they remained undiscovered until now. The question is, why? Temporal mechanics, Data observed. The discovery of Stargate technology in the 21st century would have dramatically altered human development. Space exploration via warp drive might never have been pursued if instantaneous gate travel was available. The entire history of the Federation, first contact with Vulcans, the founding of the United Federation of Planets, all might have occurred differently or not at all. So we're from divergent timelines, Picard concluded. But the Stargate has connected us despite that divergence. The question now is, what do we do about it? Jack O'Neill holstered his weapon and sighed. Well, in my timeline, this is usually the part where I call Hammond, that's our commanding general, and tell him we've got a situation. But seeing as how you're from the future and apparently live in the Star Trek universe, I'm thinking maybe we should talk before anyone does anything official. Because here's the thing, Captain. The galaxy you think you know, it's not what you think. And if our timelines have really merged somehow, you've got a lot of catching up to do. What do you mean? Beverly asked. Tiak spoke for the first time, his voice deep and carrying absolute certainty. He means that while you have explored your galaxy believing yourselves alone among many peaceful species, the truth is that most of this galaxy is enslaved. The Goa'uld system lords rule thousands of worlds, subjugating billions of humans and other species. Your Federation has existed in ignorance of the greatest evil this galaxy has ever known. The silence that followed was broken only by the hum of the still active Stargate. Picard felt the weight of those words settle on him like a physical burden. Billions enslaved. Thousands of worlds under the control of beings called Goa'uld. All of this happening in what the Federation believed was well-charted space. I think, Picard said slowly, we need to have a much longer conversation. Mr. Data, shut down the Stargate. We're bringing our guests to the Enterprise. We have a great deal to discuss. The conference room aboard the Enterprise D felt too small for the weight of what was being discussed. Picard sat at the head of the table with Riker, Data, and Geordi flanking him. SG-1 sat across from them, Jack O'Neill leaning back in his chair with studied casualness that didn't hide his tactical assessment of the room. Daniel Jackson leaning forward with academic intensity. Sam Carter examining everything with an engineer's eye. And Chulak sitting perfectly still in a way that suggested he could explode into violence at any moment. Let me see if I understand correctly, Picard said, his hands folded on the table. You're telling me that an alien race called the Goa'uld has been enslaving humans? Humans kidnapped from Earth thousands of years ago across thousands of worlds, that these Goa'uld pose as gods to control their slaves, and that your organization, Stargate Command, has been fighting them for 6 years. That's the short version, Jack confirmed. The long version involves a lot more death, a lot more close calls, and me being repeatedly irritated by false gods with delusions of grandeur. Daniel pulled out a tablet, technology that looked primitive compared to Federation pads, but served the same function and displayed images. The Goa'uld are parasitic organisms. They look like snakes, about a foot long. They burrow into a human host through the back of the neck, wrap around the spinal column and take complete control. The host consciousness is suppressed, not dead but imprisoned in their own body, forced to watch everything the Goa'uld does. Beverly's medical background made her pale at the description. That's horrifying. The psychological trauma alone would be indescribable, Chulak confirmed. I know this, because I was a host. For 100 years I served the System Lord Apophis as his first prime. I carried a Goa'uld larva in a pouch in my abdomen. All Jaffa warriors do. We are bred to be incubators for their young soldiers in their armies, extensions of their will. I was freed from this servitude only when I joined SG-1 and turned against my false god. You were enslaved for a century, Riker said, the horror evident in his voice. And you still managed to break free? Because I learned the truth, Chulak replied. The Goa'uld are not gods. They are parasites. Powerful, technologically advanced, but ultimately mortal, and mortality means they can be killed. I have dedicated my freedom to freeing my people, the Jaffa, from the same slavery I endured. Sam Carter activated another display, showing a star map. Captain, this is what we've mapped of Goa'uld territory over 6 years. Red indicates confirmed Goa'uld-controlled systems. Yellow indicates suspected but unconfirmed. Gray indicates systems we haven't been able to visit yet. Picard stared at the map. Over 300 star systems marked red, another 500 yellow, and disturbingly, many of them were in regions the Federation considered empty or inhabited only by pre-warp civilizations. How is this possible? Geordi demanded. We've surveyed these regions. We've sent probes. We should have detected advanced technology, energy signatures, warp-capable vessels. How did we miss an empire this size? Because the Goa'uld don't use warp drive, Sam explained. They use hyperspace generators, a different FTL technology they stole from the ancients. Your sensors aren't calibrated to detect hyperspace windows, and their planetary shields are designed specifically to prevent long-range scans. From your perspective, these systems would appear to have pre-industrial populations, which technically they do since the Goa'uld keep their slaves at medieval tech levels. But surely we've encountered refugees, Riker protested, or ships that escaped. Someone should have told us about this. The Goa'uld hunt down anyone who escapes, Daniel said quietly. They have to. Their entire power structure depends on their slaves believing they're gods. One person reaching a free world and telling the truth could undermine millennia of control. So they're ruthless about eliminating anyone who gets away. If refugees reached Federation space, the Goa'uld probably killed them before they could make contact. Data processed this information with android efficiency. The implications are staggering. If the Goa'uld control as much territory as you indicate, and if their technology allows them to evade our sensors, then the Federation's understanding of this galaxy is fundamentally flawed. We believed we were exploring empty space, when in fact we were surrounded by an empire built on slavery. And there's worse, Jack added, his casual demeanor dropping to reveal genuine concern. The Goa'uld aren't unified. They're constantly fighting each other for territory, power, dominance. System lords, the most powerful Goa'uld, wage war against each other using their Jaffa armies and slave populations. Billions die in their petty conflicts. And right now, there's one system lord who's more dangerous than all the others combined, Anubis. He's been experimenting with ancient technology, ascending to a higher plane of existence. He's stopped playing by the same rules as the other Goa'uld, and if he wins, if he conquers the other system lords and unifies the empire under his control, it would be the largest empire in known history, Picard finished. Billions of slaves under a single tyrant with access to technology we don't fully understand. That's not just a threat to the Federation. That's a threat to every free civilization in the galaxy. Now you're getting it, Jack said. Welcome to our nightmare, Captain. And here's the fun part. We just connected your timeline to ours. The Goa'uld don't know the Federation exists yet, but they will, soon. And when they do, they're going to see you as either a threat to eliminate, or a resource to exploit. Then we need to understand what we're dealing with, Picard decided. You've been fighting the Goa'uld for 6 years. You know their tactics, their technology, their weaknesses. We need you to teach us, and in exchange we'll share Federation technology, transporters, replicators, medical advances. We're stronger together than separate. There's a problem with that, Daniel said carefully. The Prime Directive, your most sacred rule, no interference with developing civilizations. Captain, the people enslaved by the Goa'uld are pre-warp. Most of them are stuck at Bronze Age technology. By your own laws, you can't help them. You can't interfere. You're supposed to observe and document, not liberate. The conference room went silent. Picard had spent 30 years in Starfleet, following the Prime Directive. He'd watched civilizations struggle, suffer, even die, because interference would have violated that core principle. The Prime Directive existed for good reasons, to prevent cultural contamination, to allow species to develop naturally, to avoid the imperialism that had plagued Earth's own history. But this was different. These weren't alien civilizations developing on their own. These were humans, descendants of people kidnapped from Earth, held in slavery by parasitic aliens posing as gods. The Prime Directive was written to protect developing civilizations from outside interference, Picard said slowly. But these civilizations aren't developing. They're being deliberately kept primitive by an occupying force. The Goa'uld aren't letting them progress naturally. They're actively suppressing technological advancement to maintain control. That's not a protected culture. That's colonialism. So you'll help? Daniel asked. I don't know, Picard admitted. This isn't a decision I can make alone. Starfleet Command needs to be informed. The Federation Council needs to vote. This could change everything about how we approach first contact, how we understand our role in the galaxy. But I can tell you this. I won't ignore billions suffering in slavery just because a policy written 300 years ago says I should. That's all we can ask, Jack said, and for what it's worth, Captain, welcome to the fight. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Picard nodded slowly, understanding that this moment, this first contact with SG-1, this discovery of the Stargate network, this revelation of the Goa'uld Empire, had just changed everything for the Federation. They'd spent 2 centuries exploring the galaxy, believing themselves enlightened explorers. Now they were learning they'd been naive, blind, ignorant of the greatest evil the Milky Way had ever produced. That was about to change. The briefing continued for 3 hours as SG-1 downloaded everything they knew about the Goa'uld onto Enterprise's computers. Data absorbed the information at superhuman speed, cross-referencing it with Federation databases, building a comprehensive picture of an empire that shouldn't exist but undeniably did. The Goa'uld emerged approximately 5,000 years ago, Daniel explained, calling up historical records. They discovered the Stargate network built by the ancients and realized its potential. But instead of using it for exploration or trade, they used it for conquest. They kidnapped humans from Earth, ancient Egyptians, Mayans, Babylonians, dozens of cultures, and seeded them across thousands of worlds as slave populations. Why humans specifically? Beverly asked. If they're parasitic, couldn't they use any humanoid species? Humans are biologically compatible, Sam answered. The Goa'uld symbiote bonds best with human physiology. Other species can be hosts, but humans provide the best integration between parasite and host. And once they had slave populations established across the galaxy, they posed as gods from various Earth mythologies: Ra, Apophis, Zeus, Thor, Kali, using the familiar names to inspire worship and obedience. Chulak activated another display, showing a Goa'uld in full regalia. The Goa'uld maintain their control through 3 mechanisms: fear, religion, and technology. They use hand devices and staff weapons to demonstrate divine power. They use Jaffa warriors like I once was to enforce their will, and they use ancient religious texts and myths that their slaves already believe in to justify their rule. A slave who believes their god-king is truly divine will not rebel. But you rebelled, Riker observed. If one person can break free of the conditioning, others can too. I am Jaffa, Chulak replied. We are born into servitude, but raised as warriors. We see more of the Goa'uld's true nature than slaves do. We witness their pettiness, their fear, their mortality. When I met SG-1 and learned that other humans existed who were free, who fought the Goa'uld successfully, it showed me that rebellion was possible. But for slaves on Goa'uld worlds, isolated from any outside contact, believing themselves alone in the universe, they have no reason to believe freedom exists. Geordi studied the technical specifications Sam had provided. These attack vessels, their motherships. The specs you're showing me don't make sense. Those energy requirements should be impossible with the technology you're describing, and the weaponry staff cannons that powerful shouldn't work without massive power cores. They don't use power cores the way you do, Sam explained. Goa'uld technology is built on reverse-engineered ancient tech, combined with their own biological engineering. The naquadah in their ships' hulls acts as both structural material and power conduit. It's orders of magnitude more efficient than anything we've developed or anything the Federation has developed based on what you've shown me. Naquadah? Geordi repeated. Heavy element, atomic number 106. Data provided. Having absorbed Sam's technical data. Does not exist naturally in Federation space. Or if it does, we have never encountered it in significant quantities. According to Major Carter's analysis, it is the foundation of all Goa'uld technology, power generation, weapons, shields, hyperspace engines. Without access to naquadah, We cannot replicate Goa'uld capabilities. But we might not need to, Geordi countered. Federation shields are based on different principles, graviton fields rather than Nequada enhanced energy barriers. Our phasers use nadion particles. Our warp drive doesn't require exotic elements. We might have different advantages. You do, Jack confirmed. Your transporters alone are something we'd kill for. Being able to beam personnel directly through shields. That's game-changing. The Goa'uld use ring transporters, he indicated his gear, but they're short range and can't penetrate shields. And that food replicator thing you've got? That would revolutionize how we supply off-world teams. But the fundamental problem remains, Picard said, steering the discussion back to the strategic level. You're telling me the Goa'uld control thousands of worlds. Even if Federation technology provides some advantages, we're vastly outnumbered. How many Hatak vessels do they possess? We estimate 500 to 1,000, Sam replied. Maybe more. The system lords guard their fleets closely. But even at the low end, that's 500 capital ships, each capable of bombarding planets from orbit. Starfleet has, what, 40 ships in active service, 273 vessels as of last month, data corrected. However, many are science vessels, not combat capable. Approximately 60 starships are equipped for sustained military engagement, 60 against 500, Riker said. Those are bad odds. They're terrible odds, Jack agreed. Which is why Earth's survival strategy for the last 6 years has been, stay small, stay quiet, don't attract attention from the major players. We raid Goa'uld facilities. We free slaves when we can. We gather intelligence, but we don't fight fleet battles because we'd lose. We're mosquitoes, annoying elephants, hoping the elephants don't notice us enough to step on us. That strategy won't work for the Federation, Picard said. We have hundreds of colony worlds, billions of citizens. We can't stay small and quiet. The moment the Goa'uld discover we exist, they'll see us as a threat, or worse, as a resource to exploit. We need to understand exactly what we're facing. Then you need to see it for yourselves, Daniel said quietly. Reading reports, looking at star charts. That's abstract. You need to actually visit a Goa'uld-controlled world. See the slavery. See the oppression. See what they do to anyone who rebel. Only then will you truly understand what you're up against. Picard met Daniel's eyes and saw something there that went beyond academic knowledge, a haunted awareness of horrors witnessed firsthand. This man had seen things that scarred him, had watched suffering he couldn't prevent, had learned truths that changed how he viewed the universe. Can you take us to one of these worlds? Picard asked. Chulak, Teal'c said immediately. My homeworld. It is ruled by Apophis, one of the most powerful system lords. The population numbers in the millions. It is a fortress world heavily defended, strategic importance to Goa'uld operations in this sector. If you wish to understand the Goa'uld threat, Chulak will show you everything you need to know. It's also dangerous as hell, Jack added. Chulak is crawling with Jaffa patrols. Apophis uses it as a training ground for his warriors. If we get caught, we're either dead or enslaved. Probably both in that order. Then we'll be careful, Picard decided. Commander Data, Lieutenant Commander LaForge, you'll accompany me through the Stargate to Chulak. We'll observe, gather intelligence, and return within 6 hours. Commander Riker, you have the Enterprise. If we don't return within 8 hours, assume we've been captured and inform Starfleet Command of everything we've learned. Captain, with respect, Riker protested. You can. I can and I will, Picard interrupted. This is too important for second-hand reports. I need to see this for myself. I need to understand what we're dealing with before I can ask Starfleet to commit to a course of action that might lead to war. Riker wanted to argue but recognized the futility. Understood, sir, but please be careful. And Captain? His voice softened slightly. If the Goa'uld are everything SG-1 says they are, the Federation might not be ready for this. Then we'll make them ready, Picard replied. Because the alternative, ignoring billions in slavery, is unacceptable. The Stargate on Caledonia 4th activated with the same explosive formation of the event horizon, but this time Picard knew what to expect. He stood with Data and Geordi, both wearing adapted uniforms that would blend better with Chulak's population. SG-1 flanked them, weapons ready, Teal'c leading the way through the shimmering portal. Stepping through a Stargate was unlike transporter travel. There was a moment of complete disorientation, like being stretched infinitely thin while simultaneously compressed to a single point. And then suddenly, Picard was somewhere else. Not the gradual dissolution and reformation of transporter technology, but instantaneous translocation across light years. They emerged in a stone temple, ancient architecture surrounding a Stargate, identical to the one on Caledonia 4. Sunlight streamed through openings in the walls. Voices echoed from somewhere outside, dozens of people, maybe hundreds, speaking in a language that Data immediately identified as derived from ancient Egyptian. "Welcome to Chulak," Teal'c said quietly. "Do not speak unless necessary. If questioned, you are new arrivals from another world, seeking to serve Apophis. I will do the talking." They emerged from the temple, into a city that struck Picard as both beautiful and horrifying. The architecture was elegant, clean lines, impressive stonework, efficient city planning. But the people wore simple clothing that marked them as peasants or laborers. And everywhere, every wall, every plaza, every building bore symbols declaring this world as property of Apophis. "The city is called Chulak's capital," Daniel explained, keeping his voice low as they walked through crowds that parted automatically for Teal'c's imposing presence. Population approximately 2 million in the capital, another 8 million across the planet. All human, all descended from people kidnapped from Egypt approximately 5,000 years ago. They speak a dialect that's barely evolved because the Goa'uld actively suppress education and literacy. Picard watched a squad of Jaffa warriors march past, 8 men in armor, carrying staff weapons, their foreheads marked with the same golden tattoo Teal'c bore. The civilians immediately bowed, pressing their faces to the ground in submission until the Jaffa had passed. "Those warriors were my brothers," Teal'c said, his voice tight with suppressed emotion. "I trained with some of them, fought beside them. But they still serve Apophis. They believe he is their god. They would kill me without hesitation if they knew I had betrayed him." They continued through the city, observing. Picard catalogued everything with a captain's tactical awareness and a diplomat's eye for cultural details. The people were healthy enough, not starving, reasonably clothed, but there was something wrong about them. They moved with heads down, eyes averted, the body language of people who'd learned that attracting attention was dangerous. "There," Jack said, gesturing toward a large plaza ahead. "Public punishment. This is what you need to see." Picard's stomach turned as they approached. A man barely more than a boy, really maybe 20 years old, was chained to a post in the plaza's center. His back was bloody from a recent beat. A Jaffa stood beside him with a pain stick, a Goa'uld torture device that delivered agony without permanent physical damage. "His crime," Teal'c said quietly, "was teaching others to read. The Goa'uld forbid literacy among slaves. Knowledge is power, and power must be reserved for gods and their chosen servants." As they watched, the Jaffa activated the pain stick. The young man screamed, not a brief cry but a sustained shriek of absolute agony. The crowd around the plaza didn't look away. They were forced to watch. This was the point. Fear through example. Beverly would have rushed forward to help. Geordi started toward the plaza before Jack grabbed his arm and shook his head. Data simply observed, processing, cataloging the horror with android detachment that masked whatever emotional subroutines he possessed. Picard wanted to intervene. Every instinct, every principle he built his career on demanded he stop this. But he stood still, watched, forced himself to see it through. The beating continued for 10 minutes before the Jaffa finally stopped, not because the punishment was complete, but because the victim had lost consciousness. The crowd was dismissed. The young man was left chained to the post as a continuing example. "Come," Teal'c said. "There is more you must see." They traveled through the city's outskirts to what Daniel quietly identified as a selection center. Families lined up, parents with children, elderly with young. A Goa'uld in host body, Picard could see the glowing eyes that marked possession, moved through the line, examining children. "What is he doing?" Picard asked. "Selecting children for Jaffa training," Teal'c replied. "Those deemed strong enough are taken from their families at age 7. They are implanted with Goa'uld larvae and trained as warriors. Their families never see them again. This is how the Jaffa are made. This is how I was made." Picard watched a mother cry silently as her son was pulled from her arms. The child was too young to understand what was happening. The father stood with his head bowed, making no protest, because protest would mean death. "I've seen enough," Picard said, his voice tight with barely controlled fury. "Get us back to the Stargate." They returned through the city, Picard's mind racing with what he'd witnessed. This was systematic oppression on a scale he'd never imagined. The Borg assimilated individuals, but at least there was no suffering. Consciousness was subsumed instantly. This was different. This was deliberate cruelty designed to break human spirit and maintain control through fear. They were 50 meters from the temple when the alarm sounded. "Jaffa," Teal'c shouted. "We've been discovered. Run." A squad of 12 Jaffa emerged from side streets, staff weapons raised. Teal'c returned fire with his own staff weapon while Jack and Sam used their P9. The Jaffa's armor absorbed several hits before failing. Federation phasers would have dropped them instantly, but Earth weapons from 2002 required sustained fire. "The gate," Daniel shouted. "Dial Earth." They ran for the temple, Data's superhuman speed allowing him to outdistance everyone. He reached the DHD, the dial home device, and began inputting coordinates Sam had taught him during the briefing. Behind him, covering fire from SG-1 held back the Jaffa assault. The Stargate activated just as more Jaffa reinforcements arrived. They poured through the wormhole, Data first, then Geordi, then Picard, then Daniel, then Sam, then Jack. Teal'c came last, firing backward as he dove through the event horizon. They emerged on Caledonia 4th, tumbling and disoriented but alive. Behind them, the Stargate shut down automatically, preventing pursuit. "Is everyone all right?" Picard demanded, quickly assessing his people. Data was unharmed, of course. Geordi had a minor burn from a near-miss staff blast, but nothing serious. The SG-1 team had sustained no injury. "We're fine," Jack confirmed. "But Captain, Apophis now knows someone visited Chulak and escaped. He'll be investigating, and if he figures out where we came from, then he knows about the Federation," Picard finished. "We've just announced our existence to one of the most powerful Goa'uld system lords. This changes everything." Back aboard the Enterprise, Picard stood in his ready room staring out at Caledonia Tharf below. Behind him, a recorded message to Starfleet Command queued for transmission. He'd spent 2 hours composing it, explaining the Stargate network, the Goa'uld Empire, the billions enslaved, the choice facing the Federation. The door chimed. "Come." Riker entered, carrying a pad. "Captain, we've received a response from Starfleet Command. Admiral Nechayev wants to speak with you directly." Picard sat at his desk and activated the view screen. Admiral Nechayev's stern face appeared. She was known as a hardliner, someone who believed in Federation policy above all else. "Captain Picard," she began without preamble, "I've reviewed your report. The discovery of the Stargate network is significant. The existence of the Goa'uld Empire is troubling. However, Starfleet Command's position is clear. These are pre-warp civilizations. They fall under Prime Directive protection. We cannot interfere." "Admiral, with respect," Picard replied, struggling to keep his voice level. "These are not developing civilizations. These are enslaved populations deliberately kept at pre-industrial technology levels by an occupying force. The Prime Directive was designed to protect cultures from contamination by more advanced societies. It was not designed to protect slavers." "The Prime Directive makes no distinction," Nechayev said firmly. "Pre-warp civilizations are not to be contacted. The reason for their technological level is irrelevant. If we make exceptions, if we decide that some pre-warp societies deserve our intervention while others don't, then the Prime Directive becomes meaningless." "Then perhaps it should be," Picard said, the words surprising even himself. "Admiral, I witnessed a young man tortured in public for the crime of teaching others to read. I watched children torn from their parents to be trained as soldiers for a false god. I saw an entire civilization living in fear of capricious divine retribution from beings who are not gods at all but parasites. The Prime Directive was written with noble intentions, but it was written by people who never imagined a scenario like this. I cannot stand by and allow this to continue." "Captain, you don't have a choice," Nechayev replied. "This is not a decision for individual starship captains to make. The Federation Council will debate this matter." Diplomatic channels will be explored, but until official policy is established, you are ordered to have no further contact with Goa'uld-controlled worlds. Is that understood? Picard wanted to argue, wanted to refuse, wanted to declare that he'd found a moral line he would not cross. Consequences be damned. But he was Starfleet. He followed orders, even when he disagreed with them. Understood, Admiral, he said quietly. The transmission ended. Picard sat in silence, the weight of command pressing down on him like physical force. The door chimed again. This time it was Jack O'Neill. Admiral giving you the bureaucratic runaround? Jack asked, somehow reading Picard's expression perfectly. Let me guess. Can't interfere, Prime Directive, wait for official policy, blah blah blah. You've dealt with this before, Picard observed. Oh yeah, Jack confirmed, sitting without being invited. Back when we started SG-1, there were people who wanted to shut down the Stargate program entirely. Too dangerous, they said. Too expensive, they said. We should just bury the gate and pretend we never found it. Know what changed their minds? What? The Goa'uld attacked Earth, Jack said bluntly. Sent ships to invade, tried to kill everyone. Suddenly, all those bureaucrats realized that ignoring the threat didn't make it go away. It just made us unprepared when the threat came knocking. You think the Goa'uld will attack the Federation? I think Apophis now knows someone visited his world and escaped. I think he's going to investigate. And I think when he discovers the Federation, hundreds of worlds, billions of people, technology that rivals his own, he's going to see you as either a massive threat or a massive opportunity. Either way, he's coming. The only question is whether you'll be ready when he arrives. Picard stood and walked to the window again, looking out at the stars. Billions of people out there enslaved, suffering, waiting for freedom that might never come. And the Federation, the shining beacon of enlightenment and progress, was going to do nothing, because a policy written 300 years ago said they shouldn't interfere. Commander Riker, Picard said into his comb badge, making a decision, set course for the nearest starbase. We need to make a formal report to Starfleet Command. But first, I need to speak with the Federation Council. Directly. What we saw on Chulak, someone needs to make them understand what's really happening in this galaxy. He turned to Jack. Colonel O'Neill, I'd appreciate it if you and your team remained aboard the Enterprise for now. We're going to need your expertise, because I suspect that whether Starfleet likes it or not, the Federation is about to go to war. Jack stood, offered a sardonic salute. Welcome to the fight, Captain. It's going to be one hell of a ride. The Federation Council debate lasted 3 days. Picard had presented everything: sensor logs from Chulak, testimony from SG-1, historical records of Goa'uld atrocities spanning millennia. He'd argued passionately that the Prime Directive was never intended to protect slavers, that billions of humans deserved freedom, that ignoring the Goa'uld Empire made the Federation complicit in their crimes. The Council voted 87 to 63 in favor of intervention. It was the most controversial decision in Federation history since the Khitomer Accords. Dozens of member worlds threatened to secede. Starfleet officers resigned in protest, but the majority had spoken. The Goa'uld Empire represented a threat too great to ignore and a moral wrong too clear to tolerate. Now, 2 weeks after that vote, the Enterprise D hung in orbit over Chulak, with a fleet of 12 Starfleet vessels. The USS Defiant, USS Sutherland, USS Cairo, and 9 others. The largest Federation fleet assembled since Wolf. All ships report ready, Captain, Riker said from the tactical station. Worf had been reassigned to the Defiant for this operation, giving Riker direct command of Enterprise's weapons. Picard stood from his command chair, straightening his uniform. Beside him, Jack O'Neill leaned against the railing with studied casualness that didn't hide his tension. This is it, Jack said quietly. Once we fire the first shot, there's no going back. The Goa'uld will know the Federation is at war with them. Then we'd better make this count, Picard replied. He turned to his con officer. Ensign, bring us into weapons range. All ships. Attack pattern Delta 7. Target the Hatak vessels in orbit. Disable. Don't destroy. We want prisoners for intelligence gathering. The Enterprise descended toward Chulak, the rest of the fleet spreading out in attack formation. 3 Goa'uld Hatak motherships orbited the planet, massive pyramid-shaped vessels, each nearly a kilometer long. Their shields were already up. energy signatures indicating they'd detected the Federation fleet. "They're hailing us," Data reported. "Audio only." "On-screen audio," Picard ordered. The voice that emerged was distorted, metallic, carrying the distinctive echo of a Goa'uld using its host's vocal cords. "Unknown vessels, you have entered the domain of the System Lord Apophis. Identify yourselves or be destroyed. This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the United Federation of Planets. We are here to liberate the people of Chulak from Goa'uld oppression. You have enslaved these humans for 5,000 years. That ends today. Stand down your vessels and surrender, or we will use force." The response was immediate. Staff weapon fire from all three Hataks. Bright orange plasma bolts streaked toward the Federation fleet, moving far slower than phaser fire but carrying massive destructive potential. "Shields holding at 98%, Data reported. "Staff weapon technology is less efficient than anticipated." "Return fire," Picard ordered. "Phasers only. Target their weapons array." The Enterprise's Type X phaser arrays lit up, orange beams of nadion particles that crossed the distance between ships at the speed of light. The first volley struck the lead Hatak's shields, which flared bright blue and their shields are adapting, Geordi called from engineering. "Just like board shields, they're modulating frequencies to match our phaser output."
"Rotate phaser frequencies," Riker commanded. "Don't give them time to adapt. All ships, continuous rotation protocol."
The Federation fleet opened up with everything they had. Phasers from 12 starships hammered the Goa'uld shields from multiple angles, each ship constantly changing frequencies to prevent adaptation. Photon torpedoes followed, matter-antimatter warheads that detonated against the Hatak shields with enough force to light up Chulak's night sky. The Goa'uld returned fire, but staff cannons weren't designed to fight opponents this maneuverable. Federation starships dodged and weaved, using impulse engines to maintain optimal firing positions. Within 3 minutes, the first Hatak's shields collapsed. "Target disabled," Worf's voice came over the comm from the Defiant. "Hatak 1's weapons are offline. She's venting atmosphere from multiple breaches." "Leave her," Picard ordered. "Focus on the remaining 2. I want—" Captain Data interrupted. Hyperspace window opening. Multiple contacts emerging. The space around Chulak rippled as 6 more Hatak vessels dropped out of hyperspace reinforcements, arriving far faster than warp-capable ships could have managed. And leading them was a vessel twice the size of a normal Hatak, its hull black instead of gold, radiating power that made the Enterprise's sensors scream warnings. "That's Apophis's flagship," Teal'c said, his voice grim. "He'd joined them on the bridge specifically for this moment. He has come personally to defend his domain." The flagship's weapons opened fire, not staff cannons, but something else. Bright beams of coherent energy that punched through the USS Cairo's shields like they weren't there. The Galaxy-class starship took catastrophic damage, her engineering section erupting in a series of explosions. "Cairo is requesting emergency beam-out," the con officer shouted. "They're abandoning ship. All available transporters, get those people out of there," Picard ordered. "Defiant, Sutherland, cover the Cairo while we evacuate." The battle descended into chaos. 9 Hatak vessels against 12 Federation starships. Energy weapons crisscrossing the orbital space above Chulak. The Federation ships had superior shields and maneuverability, but the Goa'uld had numbers in that flagship with weapons that could penetrate Galaxy-class shields. "We need to take out that flagship," Jack said, moving to the tactical display. "Sam, you said Goa'uld shields have a weakness. They don't block matter, only energy. What if we beamed a torpedo directly inside their shields?" "The transporter would need to penetrate their shield frequency," Geordi replied. "We'd need time to analyze and match." "I can provide the frequency," Teal'c interrupted. "I served aboard Apophis's flagship for 70 years. I know its shield harmonics. Here." He quickly entered a sequence into the tactical computer. "These are the standard Goa'uld shield frequencies. They rotate through them in this pattern." Riker grinned. "Mr. Data, prepare a full spread of photon torpedoes. We're going to beam them directly into that flagship's reactor core." "Transporter locked," Data confirmed. "Torpedoes ready." Firing. 6 photon torpedoes materialized inside Apophis's flagship, bypassing shields entirely, detonating simultaneously in the ship's engineering section. The massive vessel shuddered, its shields flickering. But it didn't explode. Goa'uld ships were built to redundant specifications that made them incredibly difficult to destroy. Damage to the flagship, but she's still operational, data reported. However, their shield grid is destabilizing. They are vulnerable. All ships concentrate fire on the flagship, Picard ordered. Take her down. The Federation fleet focused every weapon on Apophis's ship. Phasers, photon torpedoes, quantum torpedoes from the Defiant, all hammering the weakened shields. The Goa'uld vessel tried to return fire, but its weapon systems were damaged, its targeting compromised. And then something unexpected happened. On Chulak's surface, explosions erupted across the capital city. Jaffa warriors were fighting each other, some defending Goa'uld installations, others attacking them. "It's a rebellion," Tiak said, hope breaking through his normally stoic expression. "The people saw our fleet arrive. They believe freedom is possible. They are rising against their oppressors. Get me a channel to the surface," Picard ordered. "All frequencies. Now." "Channel open, Captain." "People of Chulak," Picard broadcast. "This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation. We are here to liberate you from Goa'uld slavery. Fight for your freedom. We will support you from orbit. The age of false gods is ending." The rebellion intensified. Thousands of civilians armed themselves, overwhelming Jaffa garrisons. The symbols of Apophis, his temples, his palaces burned across the planet. In orbit, Apophis's flagship took critical damage. Its hyperspace engines exploded, stranding it in normal space. The System Lord had a choice: stay and die, or retreat in one of the surviving Hattacks. He chose survival. Picard watched on sensors as a ring transport signature moved from the flagship to one of the intact Hattacks. That vessel immediately opened a hyperspace window and fled, taking 3 other damaged Hattacks with it. The remaining Goa'uld ships, leaderless and outgunned, tried to escape. 2 made it. 2 were destroyed. Apophis's crippled flagship hung in orbit, a monument to Goa'uld defeat. "Cease fire," Picard ordered. The Federation fleet went silent. Damage report: USS Cairo destroyed with 87 casualties. We beamed out 300 survivors, Riker reported. USS Sutherland and USS Potemkin have moderate damage. All other ships operational. "Captain, we won." Picard allowed himself a breath. Status of Chulak: the rebellion has succeeded, data confirmed. Goa'uld installations are captured or destroyed. Jaffa warriors are surrendering or joining the rebels. The planet is free. The Goa'uld High Council convened in a location that changed every meeting. This time aboard the Hattack flagship of Baal, one of the most powerful system lords. The council chamber was designed to intimidate: massive golden columns, floors that reflected like mirrors, the heads of defeated enemies preserved in stasis fields along the walls. 5 system lords attended. Apophis, his scarred face twisted with rage. Ba, cool and calculating in a human host. You, the oldest system lord, traditionalist and cautious. Cronus, militaristic and aggressive. And Anubis, half-shrouded in shadow, his voice distorted beyond what normal Goa'uld hosts produced, his presence radiating wrongness that made even other system lords uncomfortable. "The Federation must be destroyed," Apophis declared, slamming his fist on the council table. "They attacked my domain, liberated one of my worlds, destroyed my flagship. This cannot stand. I demand the full might of this council be brought against them." "You demand?" Baal laughed, the sound cruel. "You, who lost a planet to a handful of ships. You, who fled before this Federation like a frightened scribe. Perhaps, if you had defended your world with competence, we would not be having this conversation." "Baal speaks wisdom," you interjected, his ancient voice carrying authority earned over millennia. "Apophis, you underestimated an unknown enemy. This is a failure of intelligence, not of courage. Tell us, what do we truly know of this Federation?" Apophis gestured, and a holographic display activated showing captured sensor data from the Battle of Chulak. They possess 12 ships capable of destroying Hattacks. Their weapons penetrate our shields. Their ships move faster than ours in normal space. They have technology we do not understand. Matter transmission, energy manipulation beyond staff weapons. And most concerning, they freed Chulak in a single day. A world I have controlled for 5,000 years. Then they are a threat, Cronus said flatly. Not just to Apophis, but to all of us. If they can liberate one world, they can liberate others. Our slaves might hear of this and rebel. The foundation of our empire, fear and divine authority, has been challenged, which is why we must crush them, Apophis insisted. Completely, utterly. We must make an example that terrifies any other would-be liberators. Difficult, Baal observed, studying the tactical data. Their shields are superior to ours, their weapons more accurate. They fight with coordination we rarely achieve. If we attack with individual fleets, they will defeat us in detail. We must unite our forces, unprecedented cooperation among system lords, to overwhelm their technological advantage through sheer numbers. You propose an alliance? You asked skeptically. System lords do not ally. We compete. We conquer. Alliance is weakness. Alliance is survival, Baal corrected. This federation represents an existential threat to our entire civilization. They do not fear us. They do not worship us. They see us as we truly are, parasites playing at godhood. If we do not eliminate them now, before they grow stronger, we may lose everything. Anubis spoke for the first time, his distorted voice seeming to come from everywhere at once. Baal speaks truth, but simple destruction is wasteful. The Federation possesses technology I desire, matter transmission, their computer systems, their shield generators. We should capture their vessels intact, study their technology, reverse engineer it. Then we will have both their worlds and their science. How do you propose we accomplish this? Cronus demanded. I have been studying the ancients' technology, Anubis replied, shadows seeming to deepen around him. Specifically their methods of disrupting energy fields and transportation. I can create devices that will disable their transporters, weaken their shields, but I require time. 2 months, perhaps 3, to complete the research. 2 months? Apophis snarled. In 2 months they could liberate a dozen more worlds, then defend your remaining worlds, Anubis said coldly. Or lose them. But if you want the Federation truly defeated, not just driven back but destroyed utterly, you will give me the time I require. The system lords exchanged glances. None of them trusted Anubis. His partial ascension made him unpredictable. His knowledge of ancient technology gave him power that threatened their positions. But they also recognized he was the only one present with solutions. Very well, Baal decided. We have 3 months. In that time we fortify key systems against Federation attack. We gather intelligence on their strength and numbers, and Anubis develops his counters to their technology. Then we strike, all of us united, and we crush this Federation before they grow strong enough to threaten the natural order. Agreed, the other system lords said, almost in unison. But, you added carefully, what happens after we defeat them? Do we carve up their territory equally? Or do we resume our usual conflicts over spoils? After is irrelevant, Anubis said. Before we can divide the spoils, we must win. And to win, we must understand our enemy better. Apophis, send infiltrators to Federation space. Learn their weaknesses. Find their homeworld. Identify their leadership. When we strike, we will destroy everything they hold dear. Back on the Enterprise, now in orbit over liberated Chulak, Picard stood in the transporter room with SG-1, preparing to beam down to the planet's surface. Captain, Admiral Nishaev's face appeared on the wall, calm. I've reviewed your battle reports. The Council is pleased with the operation's success, but concerned about casualties. The Cairo's destruction represents the first Federation starship lost in combat since Wolf 3. Some Council members are questioning whether intervention was worth the cost. 87 people died freeing 10 million from slavery, Picard replied, his voice controlled but hard. If the Council believes that's too high a price, then they fundamentally misunderstand what the Federation claims to stand for. Be that as it may, Nishayev continued, Starfleet Command is ordering you to hold position at Chulak. No further offensive operations until we assess Goa'uld response. We need to know what we're facing before we commit to additional liberations. Admiral, with respect, waiting gives the Goa'uld time to prepare. Jack interjected, apparently not intimidated by Starfleet admirals. We hit them fast and hard while they're still reeling. That's how you win wars, maintain momentum, keep them off balance. Colonel O'Neill, your expertise is noted. Neshev said coldly. But this is a Starfleet operation now. Captain Picard has his orders. Hold position. Defend Chulak. Wait for reinforcements. That's final. Neshev out. The comm closed. Picard sighed, recognizing the political reality. The Federation Council was already divided over intervention. One lost starship had made that division worse. Additional losses might turn the political tide against further action. They're making a mistake, Sam said. The Goa'uld are probably meeting right now, planning their response. Every day we wait is a day they use to adapt to our tactics. I know, Picard agreed. But we're bound by Federation law. I can't launch offensive operations without authorization. He paused. However, those orders said nothing about defensive preparations. Commander Riker, I want defensive platforms established around Chulak. Starfleet personnel training the local population in modern weapons and tactics. Intelligence gathering on nearby Goa'uld systems. If when the Goa'uld attack, I want us ready. And when they do attack, Chulak asked, when Apophis returns with a fleet 10 times the size of what we face today. Then we call for reinforcements, Picard replied. The Federation has over 200 starships. If the System Lords want a war, we'll give them one. But first we need to show the people of Chulak what freedom actually means. They beamed down to the capital city, materializing in the central plaza where, weeks ago, Picard had watched a young man tortured for teaching literacy. Now that plaza was filled with celebrating crowds, thousands of people who'd never known freedom, experiencing it for the first time. Chulak was immediately mobbed by former Jaffa warriors who'd fought beside him in the rebellion. They touched his face, his golden tattoo. Speaking in rapid dialects, Picard's universal translator struggled to interpret. But the emotion was clear. These warriors saw Chulak as a liberator, a symbol that freedom was possible. A woman approached Picard, middle-aged, carrying scars that suggested a hard life. You are the one who spoke from the sky, the one who said the false gods would fall. I am Captain Picard, yes, my son, she said, tears streaming down her face. The one who was beaten for teaching others to read. They killed him yesterday, before your ships arrived. He did not live to see freedom, but he died believing it was possible. You gave him that gift. Thank you. Picard had no words adequate to that moment. He simply nodded, understanding that some things transcended language. Daniel approached, having been interviewing locals. Captain, we have a problem. These people have lived under Goa'uld rule for 5,000 years. They have no concept of self-governance, no democratic traditions, no education system beyond basic crafts. Freedom isn't just about removing the oppressor. It's about teaching people how to be free. That takes time, resources, patience. Then we'll provide all three, Picard decided. Starfleet will establish a permanent presence here. Not as rulers, but as advisors. We'll help them build schools, hospitals, infrastructure. We'll teach them governance, literacy, science, and most importantly, we'll defend them while they learn. That's nation building, Jack observed. Earth tried that in the 20th and 21st centuries. It didn't always go well. Then we'll learn from Earth's mistakes, Picard replied, because the alternative, liberating these people and then abandoning them, is unconscionable. A Starfleet ensign approached urgently. Captain, long-range sensors have detected multiple hyperspace signatures. Goa'uld Hatex. At least 20. Converging on this system from multiple vectors. ETA 6 hours. Picard felt his stomach drop. 20 Hatex. We have 9 operational starships. They're not here to negotiate, Chulak said grimly. Apophis is returning with every ship he can muster. He will not make the same mistake twice. He will not underestimate you again. Then we'd better call in reinforcements, Riker said, already moving toward the makeshift command post. And hope they arrive before the Goa'uld do. The USS Voyager dropped out of warp at maximum speed, her hull scarred from 7 years in the Delta Quadrant, but her crew as determined as ever. Captain Catherine Janeway's face appeared on the Enterprise's view screen, her expression carrying the no-nonsense intensity that had gotten her crew home against impossible odds. Captain Picard, we received Starfleet's emergency transmission. Voyager is at your disposal. What's the situation? 20 Goa'uld Hatex inbound, Picard replied, grateful for Voyager's legendary captain. We have 10 starships total now, The math is not in our favor. Then we'd better even the odds, Janeway said. I've spent 7 years fighting impossible battles. Let's add one more to the list. Over the next 4 hours, 3 more starships arrived. The USS Titan under Captain Riker's former command, now commanded by Captain Hayes, the USS Rhode Island, and the USS Archon. 13 Federation starships against 20 Goa'uld attacks. Still not great odds. But then something unexpected happened. Daniel Jackson, who'd been exploring ancient ruins on Chulak's southern continent with a science team, contacted the Enterprise with urgency in his voice. Captain, you need to see this. We've found something. Something big. Picard, Sam, Geordi, and Data beamed down to coordinates Daniel provided, a canyon system 50 kilometers from the capital where ruins older than the Goa'uld presence on Chulak had been partially excavated. Daniel stood before a massive door carved into the canyon wall, covered in symbols that glowed faintly blue. Ancient technology, Daniel said, running his hands over the symbols with reverence. Real ancient technology, not Goa'uld knockoffs. This facility predates the Stargate by millions of years. The ancients built something here, then abandoned it when they left this galaxy. What kind of facility? Geordi asked, scanning it with his tricorder. The weapons platform, Sam answered, her own scans showing matching results. Massive energy signatures underground, power source still active after millions of years. This is like the ancient outpost in Antarctica, a defensive installation designed to protect against Goa'uld invasions. Can we access it? Picard asked. That's the problem, Daniel replied. Ancient technology requires the ancient gene, a specific genetic marker carried by some humans. Jack has it, which is how he's been able to use ancient weapons before. But we'd need someone with the gene to activate this facility. Data stepped forward, his android senses analyzing the door. The genetic requirement appears designed to prevent Goa'uld access, since Goa'uld cannot carry human genetic markers while in symbiote form. However, it should respond to any human with the proper gene sequence. Crusher. He turned to Beverly, who'd beamed down with the second wave. According to my analysis of your genetic profile, you possess the ancient gene, albeit in a recessive form. You should be able to activate this facility. Beverly approached the door cautiously. What do I do? Just touch it, Daniel said. Think about wanting it to open. Ancient technology responds to mental commands as much as physical ones. Beverly placed her hand on the glowing symbols. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the symbols flared brilliant blue, and the massive door, which had been sealed for millions of years, split down the middle and opened with a sound like continental plates grinding together. Beyond was a corridor that defied perspective, seeming to extend impossibly far into the mountain. Lighting activated automatically, illuminating technology that made Federation science look primitive. Curved walls covered in symbols, floating holographic displays, and at the corridor's end, a chamber containing something that made everyone stop and stare. A chair, golden, elegant, positioned at the room's center, and surrounding it, thousands of cylindrical objects that Data identified as ancient drones. Weapons that could phase through shields, track targets with perfect accuracy, destroy attack vessels in single hits. This is it, Sam breathed. This is what we need. An ancient weapons platform with full drone complement. Captain Picard, with this, we could hold off 20 attacks. Maybe more. How do we activate it? Picard asked. Same way we opened the door, Daniel replied. Dr. Crusher sits in the chair, thinks about what she wants it to do. The weapons platform interfaces directly with the user's mind. It's intuitive. You don't need to know how it works, just what you want it to accomplish. Beverly approached the chair with obvious trepidation. This technology is millions of years old and responds to thoughts. What if I think the wrong thing? What if I accidentally target our own ships? The ancient technology has safety protocols, Sam assured her. It won't fire on targets the user doesn't consciously designate as threats. You'll be fine. Probably. Probably? Beverly repeated. Ancient technology is generally safe, Daniel added. Except when it's not. But most of the time it's fine. Your reassurances need work, Beverly said dryly. But she sat in the chair anyway. The moment she made contact, the chair activated. Golden light enveloped Beverly, and her eyes went unfocused as information flooded her mind, weapons systems, targeting protocols, defensive parameters, all being downloaded directly into her consciousness through ancient neural interface technology. Fascinating, Data observed. Dr. Crusher's neural activity has increased by 340%. The chair is augmenting her cognitive processing to operate the weapons platform effectively. Beverly's voice, when she spoke, carried an odd quality, like multiple people speaking in harmony. I see them, the Goa'uld ships, 20 Hattaks, approaching from hyperspace. They'll emerge in 47 minutes. I can target them the moment they arrive. The drones are ready. Can you control the platform from orbit? Picard asked. We need you on the Enterprise. No, Beverly replied, her voice still carrying that strange harmonics. The platform requires direct mental interface. I have to stay in the chair. But Captain, I can feel what this technology can do. It's beautiful and terrible. The ancients built this to defend humanity from the Goa'uld. Now, after millions of years, it will finally serve that purpose. Then you're our ace in the hole, Picard decided. Commander Data, Lieutenant Commander LaForge. Stay here with Dr. Crusher. Provide technical support. The rest of us return to the fleet. When those Hattaks arrive, we hit them with everything we have: phasers, torpedoes, and ancient drones. Let's show the Goa'uld why attacking the Federation was a mistake. The Goa'uld fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 20 Hattak motherships arranged in a sphere around Chulak, weapons already charging. Apophis's new flagship, even larger than his last one, positioned itself at the formation's center. Aboard the Enterprise, sensors lit up with contact alerts. 20 Hattaks confirmed, Data reported from his station, having beamed back up, leaving Geordi with Beverly. Energy signatures indicate full battle readiness. They are hailing us. On screen, Picard ordered. Apophis's face appeared, his host's features twisted with rage barely contained. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship displayed battle damage being repaired, a reminder that he'd fled the first engagement in a crippled ship. Captain Picard, Apophis said, his voice carrying the distorted echo of Goa'uld speech. You made a grave error attacking my domain. You will surrender immediately. Your ships will lower shields and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will submit to interrogation. If you comply, I will allow some of you to live as slaves. If you resist, I will kill every human on Chulak and then hunt down every Federation world and do the same. I have a counter-proposal, Picard replied calmly. You leave this system immediately, you free every human enslaved across your domain, you surrender yourself to Federation custody to face trial for crimes against humanity spanning 5 millennia. Do this, and we'll allow you to live in a very comfortable Federation penal colony. Apophis stared at him with such pure hatred that the screen seemed barely able to contain it. You dare mock a god? You're not a god, Picard said. You're a parasite with delusions of grandeur. And this ends today. He made a cutting gesture. The transmission ended. All ships, battle stations. Dr. Crusher, are you ready? Beverly's voice came over the comm, still carrying that odd ancient harmonics. Weapons platform online. Drones locked on all 20 targets. I'm ready, Captain. Just give the word. Hold fire until they attack, Picard ordered. I want to see what they're capable of before we reveal our full strength. The Goa'uld fleet opened fire first. 400 staff cannons, lighting up the space around Chulak with orange plasma fire. The Federation ships scattered, their superior maneuverability allowing them to evade most of the incoming fire. The Enterprise took 3 hits, shields dropping to 87%, but returned fire with a full phaser broadside that shredded one Hattak's shields and left its hull venting atmosphere. Their shields are tougher than before, Riker reported. They've adapted to our phaser frequencies from the last engagement. We're getting reduced effectiveness. Rotate frequencies faster, Picard ordered. Don't give them time to adapt. Photon torpedoes. Full spread. Target the flagship. The torpedoes streaked across space, slamming into Apophis's shields. But these shields held reinforced, improved, strengthened by whatever modifications the Goa'uld had implemented in the weeks since their last defeat. Shields at 60%, Data reported, referring to Apophis's flagship. But regenerating rapidly. They have adapted Borg-like regenerative shielding. They've been studying us. Janeway's voice came over the fleet comm from Voyager. Learning from the first battle. This won't be as easy as Chulak. And it wasn't. The Hataks maintained formation, focusing fire on individual Federation ships to overwhelm their shields through concentrated assault. The USS Archon took catastrophic damage in the first 3 minutes, her crew abandoning ship as the nacelles exploded. The USS Rhode Island lost shields completely, forced to withdraw to the edge of the system for repairs. 11 ships against 20, Riker said grimly. And they're winning. Dr. Crusher, Picard called. Now would be an excellent time to introduce the Goa'uld to ancient technology. Beverly's response was immediate. From the weapons platform on Chulak's surface, golden streaks of light erupted. Ancient drones, accelerating to impossible speeds, weaving through space in patterns no conventional missile could match. They phased through the Hatak's shields, like the barriers didn't exist, struck hulls directly, and detonated with energy releases that made photon torpedoes look like firecrackers. 6 Hataks exploded in the first volley. Just exploded. Catastrophic reactor breaches that consumed the massive vessels in seconds. The surviving Goa'uld ships broke formation in panic, trying to evade weapons that couldn't be blocked or dodged. Target acquired, Beverly's voice said, now carrying full ancient modulation. Eliminating threats, more drones launched. 3 more Hataks destroyed, then 2 more. The Goa'uld fleet, which had arrived with overwhelming numerical superiority, was being systematically annihilated by weapons that had been waiting millions of years for exactly this moment. Apophis's flagship tried to escape, opening a hyperspace window, but Beverly was faster. Drones intercepted the ship before it could enter hyperspace, destroyed its engines, left it crippled and drifting. Cease fire, Picard ordered. Dr. Crusher, stand down. The drone stopped. The silence that followed was absolute. 13 Goa'uld Hataks destroyed. 7 heavily damaged, their crews evacuating in escape pods and death gliders. Not a single Federation ship lost beyond the already crippled Archon. We won, Riker said, disbelief evident in his voice. We just won. That was the ancient technology, Sam said over the comm, her voice filled with scientific awe. That's what the ancients were capable of at the height of their power. No wonder the Goa'uld never conquered them. They didn't stand a chance. Apophis is hailing, Data reported. Audio only. On screen, Picard ordered. What have you done? Apophis's voice came through, stripped of its usual arrogance, carrying something Picard had never heard from a Goa'uld before. Fear. What technology is this? How do you possess ancient weapons? We found what you've been looking for 5,000 years, Picard replied. Proof that the ancients were real. That they were more powerful than you could ever imagine. And that they built weapons specifically designed to stop parasites like you. Surrender now, Apophis. It's over. But Apophis didn't surrender. Instead, space rippled with another hyperspace window. This one massive, large enough for a vessel that dwarfed even Hataks. What emerged was a ship Picard had never seen before, black, angular, radiating power that made every sensor on the Enterprise scream warnings. Oh no, Sam breathed. That's not possible. That ship design, it's ancient, but the Goa'uld shouldn't have. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Picard shouted. The ancient warship fired, a single coherent beam of energy that punched through the USS Titan's shields and hull in one shot, spearing the Galaxy-class ship from bow to stern. The Titan exploded, her warp core breaching, 400 lives ending in an instant. Anubis, Teal'c said, his voice carrying absolute certainty. That is Anubis's ship. He has acquired ancient technology beyond what any Goa'uld should possess, and he has come to kill us all. The ancient warship, piloted by a partially ascended Goa'uld with knowledge that shouldn't exist, turned toward the weapons platform on Chulak's surface. Dr. Crusher, Picard said urgently. Can you target that ship? I'm trying, Beverly replied, strain evident in her voice. But it's shielded, not with Goa'uld shields, with ancient shields. The drones can't penetrate. I can't. The ancient warship fired again. The beam struck the mountain containing the weapons platform, vaporizing millions of tons of rock in seconds. The entire facility, the chair, the drones, the power source was destroyed instantly. Beverly, Picard shouted. Got them. Geordi's voice came over the comm. transported Dr. Crusher and the science team out half a second before impact. She's safe, but Captain, the weapons platform is gone. We're facing an ancient warship with nothing that can touch it. Anubis's ship turned toward the Enterprise. Picard had 1 second to make a decision. All ships, retreat, Picard ordered. Full impulse, maximum warp as soon as you're clear of the gravity well. We can't win this fight. The Federation fleet scattered. Anubis's ship pursued, its weapons destroying 2 more starships before the survivors managed to jump to warp. The Enterprise was the last to leave, her shields buckling under fire from a weapon system that was millions of years more advanced than anything Starfleet had ever encountered. As they jumped to warp, leaving Chulak behind, Picard watched the view screen, watched Anubis's ship turn back toward the planet, watched the Goa'uld ground forces, reinforced now, retake the capital city, watched the people they'd liberated, 10 million souls, fall back under Goa'uld control in less than an hour. They'd failed. Despite the ancient weapons platform, despite superior Federation technology, despite everything. Because Anubis possessed something they couldn't fight. Knowledge from a higher plane of existence, technology that made even ancient drones look primitive, and the absolute certainty that nothing in this galaxy could stop him. The war had just begun, and the Federation was losing. Starbase 375 had been chosen as the emergency command center for Federation operations against the Goa'uld. Far enough from Earth to avoid immediate danger, close enough to coordinate fleet movements. The conference room was packed. Admiral Ross commanding Starfleet Tactical Operations, Admiral Nechayev representing the Federation Council, Captain Picard and his senior staff, SG-1 and representatives from a dozen different Starfleet divisions. The holographic display at the room's center showed the galaxy with disturbing clarity. Red zones marked Goa'uld-controlled territory. Blue indicated Federation space, and a new color, black, represented systems where Anubis had been confirmed active. The black zones were spreading. 3 weeks since the Battle of Chulak, Admiral Ross began, his voice grim. In that time, Anubis has attacked 7 Federation colonies. Deneb IV, population 2.3 million, was glassed from orbit in under an hour. New Rigel destroyed. Cestus III conquered, population enslaved. And now this. The display zoomed to show a planet Picard recognized immediately. Betazed, home of Counselor Troy's people. Population 1.3 billion. Anubis attacked Betazed 6 hours ago, Nechayev said, her voice tight with barely controlled rage. 3 ancient-class warships. We're calling them that because we don't know what else to call Goa'uld vessels upgraded with ancient technology. They bypassed our orbital defense platforms completely. Their shields are impervious to phaser fire. Their weapons cut through galaxy-class hulls like they're made of tissue paper. Betazed's ground forces are holding, Ross continued, but barely. Anubis isn't interested in enslaving the population this time. He's systematically exterminating every Betazoid he can find and replacing them with Goa'uld hosts. He's turning our people into his army. The room went silent. This was genocide. Not the slow oppression the Goa'uld usually practiced, but active extermination combined with forced host-taking on a planetary scale. How many casualties? Picard asked quietly. Preliminary estimates, 400 million dead in the first 6 hours, Nechayev replied. Projected total if we don't intervene, complete extinction within 48. Deanna Troi, who'd been sitting rigid throughout the briefing, finally spoke. My mother is on Betazed. I can't feel her anymore. Our telepathic bond is gone. Either she's unconscious, or she couldn't finish. Picard placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll get her back, Counselor. All of them. With what? Admiral Ross demanded, his frustration boiling over. We've thrown everything we have at Anubis's ships. Phasers don't work. Torpedoes don't work. We managed to evacuate 200,000 people from Betazed before his ships locked down the planet, but that leaves 1.3 billion still trapped. And our fleet, we've lost 18 starships in 3 weeks. 18. At this rate, Starfleet won't exist in 6 months. Then we need allies, Picard said. Colonel O'Neill, you've mentioned the Tok'ra before. Goa'uld resistance fighters. Can they help? Jack exchanged glances with his team. Maybe. The Tok'ra have been fighting the Goa'uld for thousands of years. They have intelligence networks, Operatives embedded in System Lord territories. Access to technology we don't, but, he hesitated. They're not nice people. They use methods the Federation would consider unethical. Infiltration, assassination, deception. And they'll expect something in return. What do they want? Neshaev asked. Access to Federation technology, Sam answered. Transporters. Specifically, the Tok'ra use the same ring transport technology as the Goa'uld. Short-range can't penetrate shields. Your transporters would revolutionize their operations. They could extract operatives from enemy territory instantly, infiltrate shielded facilities, change the entire dynamic of their war. That's a significant technology transfer, Neshaev said cautiously. The Federation Council would need to approve, then get approval. Try interrupted, her composure finally breaking. My planet is dying. Billions of people are being slaughtered. This is not the time for bureaucratic process. The room fell silent again. Counselor Troy never raised her voice, never lost her diplomatic calm. The fact that she was shouting now underscored exactly how desperate the situation had become. She's right, Picard said quietly. Admiral, with respect, we don't have time for council debates. I'm requesting permission to contact the Tok'ra and negotiate an alliance. If that requires sharing transporter technology, then that's what we'll do. Ross and Neshaev exchanged glances. Finally Neshaev nodded. Do it. But Captain, the Tok'ra are not the Federation. They don't share our values. Be very careful about what you promise them. The Tok'ra representative arrived via Stargate the next day. Her name was Garshaw, or rather Garshaw was the name of the symbiote, and Yosef was the name of the host, though they referred to themselves as one entity in the way all Tok'ra did. Unlike the Goa'uld, Tok'ra shared their hosts' bodies willingly, creating a true symbiotic relationship rather than parasitic domination. She materialized in the Enterprise's transporter room, studied the technology with obvious fascination, and her first words were, "So the rumors are true. The Federation has mastered matter transmission. This changes everything." Picard met her in the observation lounge, neutral territory. No power dynamics. Garshaw sat across from him, her eyes occasionally flashing with the glow that indicated the symbiote was speaking rather than the host. "Captain Picard," she began, her voice carrying dual tones that marked Tok'ra speech. "We've been monitoring your conflict with the System Lords. You've accomplished more in 3 weeks than we've managed in 3,000 years. You've unified them against you. Every System Lord from here to the galactic core now knows the Federation exists and sees you as a threat to their dominance." "That wasn't exactly our intention," Picard replied dryly. "Intentions are irrelevant. Results matter, and the result is that you're losing. Anubis possesses ancient knowledge that makes him more dangerous than all other Goa'uld combined. He's conquered or destroyed 7 of your colonies. He'll conquer or destroy 70 more if we don't stop him. Which is why we need your help," Picard said. "SG-1 tells me the Tok'ra have operatives throughout the Goa'uld Empire. Intelligence on Anubis's operations, his plans, his weaknesses. We need that information." "And in exchange?" Garshaw asked, though her expression suggested she already knew. "Transporter technology. Full specifications, working prototypes, technical support to integrate them into your operations." Garshaw leaned back, considering. "That's generous. More than we expected. Why?" "The Federation could bargain harder, demand more from us in exchange for such valuable technology. Because 1.3 billion people are dying on Betazed right now," Picard said bluntly. "Because Anubis is committing genocide on a scale that would make the Borg look restrained. Because we don't have time for negotiation games, we need allies, and we need them now. So here's my offer: full transporter technology, plus access to Federation medical databases, plus defensive shield specifications. In exchange, the Tok'ra share everything they know about Anubis and commit to joint military operations against him." "You're offering us the keys to the kingdom," Garshaw observed. "What's to stop us from taking your technology and disappearing? We're spies and assassins, Captain. Trust isn't exactly our specialty." "Because if Anubis wins," Picard replied, "there won't be a kingdom left. He'll control the entire galaxy. Every human Tok'ra, Federation, SGC, will be either dead or enslaved. This isn't about trust. This is about survival." Garshaw studied him for a long moment, her eyes flashing gold as symbiote and host conferred internally. Finally, Agreed. The Tok'ra High Council will ratify this alliance within the day. In the meantime, I can tell you what we know about Anubis. It's not much, but it might save your people on Betazed. She activated a holographic display showing a star system Picard didn't recognize. Anubis is building a superweapon. We don't know exactly what it does, but our intelligence suggests it combines Goa'uld power systems with ancient energy manipulation. Then she paused. Something he's stolen from your territory. Federation technology. He's reverse engineering your shields, your weapons, your computer system. The hybrid ships attacking Betazed. Those are prototypes. When he perfects the combination, he'll have vessels that possess ancient defensive capabilities and Federation offensive capabilities. Nothing in this galaxy will be able to stop him. How long until he completes this weapon? Picard asked. Weeks. Maybe days. We don't know precisely. But Captain, there's something else you should know. Anubis isn't Goa'uld. Not entirely. He was, once. But he attempted ascension, tried to elevate himself to the same higher plane of existence the ancients achieved. He partially succeeded. The ancients, the ascended ones, discovered what he was doing and cast him back down, but not before he gained knowledge of their technology and abilities. He's half ascended, half divine. That's why he can operate ancient technology that should be impossible for Goa'uld to access. Data, who'd been observing silently, spoke up. A partially ascended being with access to ancient technology and Federation specifications. The strategic implications are severe. He would possess advantages in computing, energy generation, and weapons systems that we cannot match conventionally. Which is why we need more allies, Sam interjected. She'd been invited to this meeting specifically because of her expertise. Garshaw, have you made contact with the Asgard? Garshaw's expression shifted, something that might have been respect or might have been fear. The Asgard, yes. We've had minimal contact over the centuries. They're difficult, brilliant, more advanced than even the ancients in some ways, but utterly consumed by their own war. The replicators are destroying their civilization slowly. They have little attention to spare for our conflicts with the Goa'uld, but they might spare attention for Anubis, Jack suggested. A Goa'uld with ancient technology represents a threat to everyone, including them, and the Asgard were allies of the ancients. They might be willing to help stop someone who's abusing ancient knowledge. It's worth trying, Picard decided. Garshaw, can you arrange contact with the Asgard? I can send a message through our channels. Whether they respond, she shrugged. The Asgard help when it suits them, but I'll try. The response came faster than anyone expected. Not a transmission, but a ship. It appeared in orbit around Starbase 3075 without warning. No warp signature, no hyperspace window, just suddenly there. The vessel was unlike anything in Starfleet's database. Sleek, organic-looking, shaped like an elongated teardrop. Sensors couldn't get a clear reading on its composition or power systems. A communication came through. The voice was high-pitched, oddly modulated. This is Commander Thor of the Asgard vessel Biliskner. We have monitored your conflict with the Goa'uld, known as Anubis. We wish to speak with Captain Picard of the Enterprise and Colonel O'Neill of SG. Picard and Jack beamed aboard the Asgard vessel minutes later. The interior was as alien as the exterior. Curved walls, holographic controls, and at the room's center, a small gray-skinned being no more than 4 feet tall with an oversized head, large black eyes, and a presence that somehow made him seem much larger than his physical form. Commander Thor, Jack said, grinning. Long time no see. Love what you've done with the ship. O'Neill, Thor replied, what might have been amusement flickering across his features. It is agreeable to see you again, though I wish it were under better circumstances. He turned to Picard. Captain Picard, your Federation has accomplished something we did not believe possible. You have drawn the attention of Anubis, and his attention is problematic. So we've noticed, Picard said dryly. He's destroying our colonies with ancient technology. We need help stopping him. The Asgard cannot provide extensive military support, Thor said immediately. Our war with the replicators consumes most of our resources. However, we cannot allow Anubis to continue abusing ancient technology. The ancients were our ally. We will honor that alliance by preventing their knowledge from being misused. Therefore, I propose a limited cooperation, The Asgard will provide technological specifications that can counter ancient shielding. In exchange, you will share your experience fighting the replicators if they breach Federation space. We haven't fought any replicators, Jack pointed out. You will, Thor said grimly. They're coming. The alliance was formalized within a week. Federation, Tukra, Asgard, and SSGC. 4 civilizations united against the Goa'uld threat. The treaty was signed aboard the Enterprise in a ceremony that Picard knew would be remembered as either the beginning of the galaxy's salvation or the prelude to its doom. But the alliance brought immediate practical benefits. The Tukra provided intelligence on Anubis's fleet movements, allowing Starfleet to evacuate 3 colonies before Goa'uld attacks arrived. The Asgard shared sensor technology that allowed Federation ships to detect ancient energy signatures, removing Anubis's advantage of surprise attacks. And the combined technological knowledge began producing hybrid systems that were greater than the sum of their parts. Sam Carter and Geordi LaForge worked around the clock in engineering, integrating Asgard beam technology with Federation transporters. The result was a system that could transport through shields, lock onto targets at far greater range than standard transporters, and operate with precision the Tukra had only dreamed of. This is incredible, Sam said, watching the test results scroll across her console. We just transported a probe through an active shield grid at 40,000 kilometers. That's 10 times the range of standard Federation transporters. With this, we could beam strike teams directly onto Goa'uld Hattaks, bypass their shields completely, sabotage them from within, or beam their crews off, Geordi added. Non-lethal ship capture. That's been a pipe dream in Starfleet for decades. With Asgard beam technology combined with our pattern buffers, we're not just fighting Anubis anymore, Data observed, analyzing the strategic implications. We're evolving into something new. Federation technology, Asgard science, Tukra, intelligence, ancient knowledge from SG. This alliance represents a combining of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. The question is whether it will be enough. The answer came sooner than anyone expected. An emergency transmission from the USS Defiant, operating near the Betazed system. Enterprise, we have multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. Count is 40 Hattak vessels. No, wait. More. 60. 80. They're still coming. This is the largest Goa'uld fleet we've ever seen. And Captain, they're all heading for Betazed. This is the final assault. If we don't stop them here, 1.3 billion people die. Picard stood from his command chair. Set course for Betazed. Maximum warp. Inform Starfleet Command we need every available ship. And contact Thor. Tell him if the Asgard are going to help. Now is the time. The Federation fleet arrived at Betazed to find a battle already underway. 20 Starfleet vessels. Everything that could be mustered on short notice, facing 80 Goa'uld Hattaks. The math was impossible. Even with superior technology, even with Asgard enhancements, the numbers were overwhelming. All ships attack Pattern Omega, Picard ordered. Concentrate fire on individual targets. Don't spread damage across multiple ships. Kill them one at a time, and someone find me Anubis's flagship. Take that out and the Goa'uld lose coordination. The battle was chaos. Phaser fire and staff blasts crisscrossing space. Torpedoes and plasma bolts detonating against shields. Ships exploding, crews dying. The cold mathematics of war playing out in real time. The Enterprise focused its fire on a single Hattak, rotated phaser frequencies to prevent adaptation, hammered the shields until they collapsed, then beamed photon torpedoes directly into the ship's reactor core using the new Asgard-enhanced transporters. The Hattak exploded. 1 down, 79 to go. Captain, Thor's ship is arriving. Data reported. The Asgard vessel Beliskner dropped out of hyperspace at impossible speed, its weapons far more advanced than anything the Federation possessed, laying into the Goa'uld fleet with devastating efficiency. But Thor wasn't alone. 3 more Asgard ships accompanied him, their combined firepower destroying 5 Hattaks in the first minute. This is Commander Thor. The transmission came through on all frequencies. Goa'uld forces, you are violating ancient technology protocols. Withdraw immediately or face Asgard intervention. The Goa'uld response was predictable. They opened fire on the Asgard ships. Very well, Thor said calmly. O'Neill, I believe you humans have a phrase for this. You asked for it. The Asgard vessels unleashed hell. Their weapons, based on principles the Federation barely understood, didn't just destroy ships, they disintegrated them at a molecular level, leaving nothing but expanding clouds of ionized particles. 10 attacks gone in seconds, then 15, then 20. The tide was turning. The impossible battle was becoming merely difficult. Starfleet and Asgard working together, using combined tactics, advanced technology, and sheer determination. And then everything got worse. A new contact appeared on sensors, not emerging from hyperspace, not dropping out of warp, just suddenly present, as if it had always been there. A ship shaped like a massive crystalline insect, its hull covered in millions of geometric blocks that seemed to be constantly rearranging themselves. What the hell is that? Riker demanded. Oh no, Sam breathed, her face going pale. That's a replicator ship, but they shouldn't be here. They're fighting the Asgard in their home galaxy. They shouldn't have reached Federation space yet. They detected advanced technology, Thor said, his voice carrying something that might have been fear if Asgard experienced such emotions. The concentration of Asgard vessels, Federation starships and Goa'uld Huttocks, all in one location, drew their attention. They've come to consume everything. The replicator ship opened. Not weapons fire, but clouds, thousands of small robotic organisms, each no larger than a human hand, swarming toward the nearest vessels with geometric precision. They landed on hulls, began disassembling metal and technology at a molecular level, consuming everything to create more of themselves. The USS Melbourne took the first hit. The replicators covered her hull in seconds, eating through the ablative armor, penetrating the shields from the outside where shield generators couldn't protect. Within 3 minutes, the entire Galaxy-class starship was gone, disassembled, consumed, converted into more replicators that launched themselves toward other vessels.
Retreat!
Thor ordered. All ships, maximum speed, away from the replicator vessel. Do not allow them to make contact with your hulls. What about Betazed? Tride demanded. We can't just abandon. If the replicators consume our fleet, Betazed falls anyway, Picard said, the decision tearing at him. And then the replicators move on to every other world in the Federation. Warp 9, heading 270 Mark III. Now, the Federation fleet scattered. The Asgard ships, immune to conventional weapons but vulnerable to replicators, fled to hyperspace. Even the Goa'uld Huttocks, recognizing a threat beyond their capacity to fight, retreat. The replicators consumed the USS Melbourne's remains, replicated into millions of individual units, and turned their attention to Betazed. The planet below, 1.3 billion Betazoids, already under Goa'uld assault, now faced a second existential threat. Aboard the Enterprise, Picard watched helplessly as the replicator ship descended toward the planet. Thor, is there any way to stop them? Energy weapons are ineffective. The replicators simply absorb the energy and use it to replicate faster, Thor explained. Physical weapons can destroy individual units, but they reproduce faster than you can kill them. The only weakness we've discovered is specific energy frequencies that disrupt their internal programming, but that requires precise calibration, and we don't have time. I can calibrate it, Data interrupted. Commander Thor, transmit the frequency specifications to my station. I can analyze the replicator energy signatures and determine the optimal disruption frequency. Do it quickly, Thor urged. Every second we wait, millions more replicators are created. Data's fingers moved across his console at superhuman speed, processing information faster than any biological mind could manage. Frequency determined, transmitting to all ships. However, standard phasers cannot generate this specific frequency. We will need to modulate our weapons arrays, which will take approximately 8 minutes. We don't have 8 minutes, Riker said, watching sensors. The replicators are planet-side. They're consuming everything, buildings, vehicles, people. Betazed will be gone in an hour. Picard made a decision. Mr. Data, modulate the deflector dish to emit that frequency as a directed energy beam. All power from weapons, shields, life support. Everything. One shot. Maximum range. If we can disrupt the replicators long enough for the ground forces to evacuate, Captain, redirecting all power will leave us defenseless, Riker protested. If this doesn't work, we lose the Enterprise. Then it had better work, Picard said. Mr. Data, fire when ready. The Enterprise's deflector dish, normally used for deflecting space debris during warp travel, lit up with energy that made the entire ship vibrate. A beam of precisely calibrated energy streaked toward Betazed, struck the replicator mass covering the planet's surface, and the replicators stopped, froze mid-action, their geometric forms locked in place. Then they began to fall apart, deactivating, their internal programming disrupted by the specific frequency data had calculated. "It's working!" Sam shouted. "The replicators are deactivating. Captain, you did it!" But the celebration was short-lived. On sensors, a new contact appeared. The replicator ship, which had been in orbit, suddenly accelerated directly toward the Enterprise. "They've adapted," Data reported. "The remaining active replicators have analyzed our weapon and are now immune to that frequency. And Captain, the replicator ship is on collision course. Impact in 30 seconds. We have no power for shields or weapons. Evasive maneuvers." Picard ordered. "Impulse engines offline," the con officer reported. "We used everything for that shot. We can't move." 20 seconds. Picard watched the view screen, seeing his ship's death approaching with mathematical certainty. Around him, his crew worked frantically to restore power, but there wasn't time. There would never be time. 10 seconds, and then the replicator ship exploded. Not from weapons fire, not from torpedoes. It simply detonated a massive internal explosion that scattered replicator components across space. "What happened?" Riker demanded. Thor's voice came through. "We triggered their self-destruct sequence. An old Asgard trick. We broadcast a code that exploits a flaw in replicator programming, causes them to consume themselves rather than external matter. It only works once, they adapt afterward, but it was sufficient." Picard let out a breath he hadn't known he was holding. "Thank you, Commander Thor. You saved our lives." "You saved Betazed," Thor replied. "A fair exchange. But Captain, this was merely one replicator ship. There are thousands more in Asgard space. And now they know the Federation exists. They will come for your technology, your resources, your worlds. The replicator threat is no longer confined to the Asgard. It has become everyone's problem." 3 days after the Battle of Betazed, Starfleet intelligence detected something that turned strategic planning into panic. Anubis was moving his entire fleet, not toward Federation colonies, not toward Goa'uld rivals, toward Earth, both Earth. "He's attacking simultaneously," Admiral Ross explained in the emergency briefing. "SGC's Earth, the 2002 timeline Earth, through the Stargate, and Federation Earth, our 23. He's hitting both at once to divide our forces, prevent mutual support, and eliminate both human homeworlds in a single stroke." "How many ships?" Picard asked. 60 Hattacks heading for Federation Earth," Ross replied. "Unknown numbers deploying through the Stargate to attack SGC Earth, and leading the fleet to Federation Earth. Anubis's flagship, that ancient technology mothership that can shrug off everything we throw at it." Jack O'Neill stood, his casual demeanor completely gone. "We need to split up. SG-1 returns to defend our Earth using the ancient outpost in Antarctica. Enterprise and the fleet defend Federation Earth. We coordinate through subspace. If either position gets overwhelmed, the other sends reinforcements." "Agreed," Picard said. "Colonel, take whatever Starfleet personnel you need. Starbase 37-5 can provide additional equipment." "No time," Jack interrupted. "Anubis's fleet is already in hyperspace. They'll arrive at Federation Earth in 6 hours. We'll handle our end. You handle yours." "And Captain?" He met Picard's eyes. "Don't die. We've come too far to lose now." They shook hands, a gesture that crossed centuries and timelines, but meant the same thing in both. "Good luck, and see you on the other side." SG-1 returned through the Stargate to their Earth, arriving at the SGC to find General Hammond coordinating a desperate defense. The ancient outpost in Antarctica, the same weapons platform that had destroyed Anubis's fleet once before, was being powered up, but it would take time. Time they didn't have. Goa'uld forces poured through the Stargate, not Hattacks, but ground troops, Jaffa warriors by the thousands, supported by Alakesh bombers and death gliders. The SGC defended with everything they had: USAF security forces, automated turrets, Tok'ra allies who'd arrived to help. Daniel, get to the ancient chair, Jack ordered. You've got the strongest ancient gene after me. Power up those drones and start shooting. Sam, Teal, we hold the gate room until Daniel gets the weapons online. Hammond, evacuate civilians to Alpha Site. If we lose here, at least some of humanity survives. Daniel ran through SGC corridors, descended into the ice of Antarctica, where the ancient outpost waited. The chair recognized his genetic signature, activated immediately. Thousands of drones, golden death waiting to be unleashed, lit up in his mind like extensions of his own body. He could see the Goa'uld fleet in orbit. 30 haddocks, positioning for orbital bombardment. Death gliders strafing SGC's surface installations. Jaffa ground forces overwhelming Earth's defenders. Daniel thought one word: fire. The drones launched. Thousands of them, streaming from the Antarctic ice, accelerating to impossible speeds, tracking targets with perfect accuracy. They struck the haddocks in orbit, phasing through shields, penetrating hulls, detonating reactors. 10 haddocks destroyed in the first minute, then 15, then 20. The Goa'uld fleet broke off the attack, retreating to hyperspace before the drones could destroy them all. The ground forces, seeing their orbital support disappear, surrendered or fled through the Stargate. SGC Earth was saved, but it had been close. Too close. At Federation Earth, the situation was worse. 60 haddocks emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, immediately launching fighters and beginning orbital bombardment. Starfleet's home fleet, 30 vessels including the Enterprise, met them head-on, but the numbers were overwhelming. All ships, attack pattern Delta, Picard ordered. Concentrate fire on Anubis's flagship. If we can disable it, the rest of the fleet loses coordination. But Anubis's flagship was impervious. Federation phasers splashed uselessly against ancient shields. Photon torpedoes detonated without effect. Even Asgard beam weapons, which had proven effective against standard Goa'uld ships, couldn't penetrate the ancient energy barriers protecting Anubis's vessel. His shields are regenerating faster than we can damage them, Data reported. At current rate of fire, we will deplete our weapons reserves before achieving meaningful damage. Then we go to ramming speed, Picard decided. If we can't shoot through his shields, we'll crash through them. Full impulse collision course with the flagship. Abandon ship when we're 60 seconds from impact. Captain, you can't be serious, Riker protested. The Enterprise is a ship, Picard interrupted, and ships can be replaced. People can't. Ready the evacuation order? But before he could give it, space rippled with an incoming hyperspace window, and what emerged made everyone stop and stare. 4 Asgard motherships, each twice the size of Thor's vessel, and leading them, Thor himself, his image appearing on the Enterprise's view screen. Captain Picard, I apologize for the delay. The Asgard High Council required persuasion to commit additional forces to this conflict. However, they have been persuaded. These are our most advanced warships, and we have brought something else. A massive object materialized in space, a device the size of a starship covered in ancient symbols radiating power that made every sensor on the Enterprise scream warnings. That's an ancient weapon, Sam's voice came over the comm from the Defiant. A neutrino ion generator. It emits radiation that can penetrate ancient shields. The Asgard reverse-engineered it from ancient databases. Captain, if we can get that device close enough to Anubis's flagship. Do it, Picard ordered. Thor, will provide cover. Get that weapon in position. The combined Starfleet Asgard fleet pushed forward, absorbing horrific damage from the Goa'uld fleet, but slowly, incrementally, moving the neutrino ion generator closer to Anubis's flagship. 300 meters. 200. 100. Thor activated the device. Radiation flooded space. Invisible, lethal, passing through Anubis's ancient shields like they didn't exist. The flagship shields flickered, destabilized, collapsed. He's vulnerable, Riker shouted. All ships, fire everything. The Federation fleet unleashed every weapon simultaneously. Phasers, torpedoes, quantum weapons from the Defiant, Asgard energy beams, all hammering Anubis's now defenseless flagship. The ship shuddered, took massive damage, its hull breaching in dozens of places, but it didn't explode. Anubis's ancient technology included redundancies even the Asgard hadn't anticipated. The flagship opened a hyperspace window and fled, trailing debris and venting atmosphere but somehow still functional. The remaining Goa'uld fleet, seeing their leader retreat, followed suit. Within minutes the space around Earth was clear of enemy vessels. "We did it," Try said, disbelief in her voice. "We actually did it." "No," Picard said, watching the hyperspace signatures disappear. "We survived. Anubis is still out there. Still building his weapon. Still planning his next attack. All we've done is buy time. Then we'd better use that time wisely," Admiral Ross said, his face appearing on the view screen from Starbase 3075. "Because next time, Anubis won't underestimate us. Next time he'll bring everything he has. And I don't know if we can stop that." The Asgard research vessel Valhalla materialized in orbit around Starbase 375, its arrival unannounced but expected. Thor transported directly to the Enterprise's engineering section, where Sam Carter and Geordi LaForge had been working for 72 hours straight on what they were calling the Anubis problem. The problem was simple. Anubis's flagship possessed ancient shields that regenerated faster than any weapon could damage them. The solution needed to be equally simple, a weapon that could penetrate those shields. "Commander Thor," Geordi said, looking up from a console covered in equations that combined Federation, Asgard, and ancient physics. "Tell me you have good news." "I have a solution," Thor replied, his small gray form somehow commanding the room's attention despite being dwarfed by the humans around him. "The Asgard have been studying ancient shield technology for millennia. We have developed a weapon specifically designed to counter it, the neutrino ion generator." He activated a holographic display showing a device that looked like a cylinder covered in crystalline structures. This generator produces a specific type of radiation that ancient shields cannot block. The radiation passes through the shields as if they do not exist, disrupting the power systems maintaining them. Once the shields collapse, conventional weapons become effective. "We used something like this at the Siege of Earth," Sam said, studying the specifications. "But that was a massive device, the size of a small ship. We can't exactly mount that on the Enterprise." "The version I have brought is compact," Thor replied, "approximately the size of your photon torpedo. It can be fired from standard Federation torpedo tubes, detonates near the target, and bathes the area in neutrino ion radiation for approximately 45 seconds. During that window, ancient shields are completely ineffective." Geordi's visor processed the technical data at high speed. 45 seconds. That's barely enough time to penetrate Anubis's hull and reach critical systems. We'd need to coordinate multiple ships, focus all fire on specific weak points, or we modify Federation weapons to synergize with Asgard technology, Data suggested, having joined the conversation. "If we combine the neutrino ion radiation with modified phaser arrays, we could create a hybrid weapon that both penetrates ancient shields and delivers destructive energy simultaneously. That would require integrating Asgard power systems with Federation weapons technology," Sam said, already working through the calculations. "The energy requirements alone are manageable if we use a modified warp core shunt," Geordi finished, following her logic. "We redirect power from the warp engines during combat, channel it through Asgard emitters that Thor provides, and output it through our existing phaser arrays. The phasers would fire neutrino ion-enhanced beams that punch through ancient shields while delivering full destructive potential." Thor nodded approvingly. "Your species adapts quickly. This is why the Asgard chose to ally with humanity, both your version and the SGC's version. You possess a remarkable capacity for rapid technological integration." "How long to install this system on the Enterprise?" Picard asked, entering engineering after being briefed on Thor's arrival. 72 hours minimum, Geordi estimated. "We need to completely reconfigure the phaser arrays, install Asgard emitters at 37 points across the ship, and calibrate the warp core to handle the power fluctuations. And that's just for the Enterprise. Outfitting the entire fleet would take weeks." "We don't have weeks," Picard said. "Anubis is rebuilding his forces. The Tok'ra intelligence before they left indicated he's gathering system lords for one final assault. If we don't stop him before that attack launches, the Federation falls. Then we prioritize," Sam decided. "We outfit the Enterprise first. She becomes our flagship, our primary weapon against Anubis. Once we've proven the technology works in combat, We can rapidly deploy it across the fleet using the Enterprise as a template. Agreed, Picard said. Commander LaForge, Major Carter. You have 72 hours. Make it work. 71 hours later, the Enterprise hung in space near a captured Goa'uld Hatak that Starfleet had designated as a test target. The Hatak had been abandoned during the Battle of Betazed, its Jaffa crew dead or captured, its systems shut down but intact. It was perfect for testing the hybrid weapons system. Asgard emitters online, Geordi reported from engineering. Power flow is stable. Phaser arrays modified and calibrated. All systems showing green. Target locked. Worf reported from tactical. He'd been temporarily reassigned to the Enterprise specifically for this weapons test. Hatak vessel, distance 50,000 kilometers. Shields are active. We powered them up remotely to simulate combat conditions. Fire when ready, Mr. Worf, Picard ordered. The Enterprise's phaser arrays lit up, but the beam that emerged was different from normal phaser fire. It carried a blue-white quality almost crystalline in appearance, and when it struck the Hatak's shields, something impossible happened. The shields didn't deflect it. The beam passed straight through, struck the hull and carved through Naquadah-enhanced armor like a cutting torch through paper. Direct hit. Data confirmed. The hybrid phaser beam penetrated Goa'uld shields with 100% efficiency. Hull breach on the target vessel. Internal explosions consistent with reactor damage. The Hatak is destroyed. The test target exploded, confirming what the sensors had already shown. It works, Sam breathed, staring at the readings in disbelief. Thor, your people just changed everything. With this technology we can fight Anubis on equal terms. Not equal, Thor corrected. Anubis possesses knowledge and resources beyond what this weapon alone can counter. But yes, you now have a chance. That is more than you had before. Then we use it, Picard decided. Admiral Ross has located Anubis's flagship. He's in the Calium system, meeting with other system lords. We take the Enterprise, we strike fast, and we end this threat before he can launch his final assault. Riker stood from his chair. Captain, with respect, one ship against Anubis's entire fleet, even with these new weapons. Which is why we're not going alone, Picard interrupted. The Defiant will accompany us. 2 ships with hybrid weapons, supported by Thor's vessel. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we leave before reinforcements arrive. Surgical strike. Decapitation of Goa'uld leadership. If we kill Anubis, the System Lords Alliance collapses. And if we fail, Worf asked, then the Federation has bought time for the rest of the fleet to be outfitted with hybrid weapons, Picard replied. Either way, we change the strategic balance. The Calium system was deep in Goa'uld territory. 3 planets, 2 of them enslaved worlds providing resources and labor to the System Lords. Long-range sensors detected 15 Hatak vessels in orbit around Calium III, with Anubis's distinctive ancient technology flagship at the formation's center. 15-3, Jack observed from his position on the Enterprise bridge. SG-1 had insisted on being present for this operation. I've had worse odds, usually right before something explodes. The key is surprise, Picard said. They're not expecting an attack in their own territory. We drop out of warp at maximum weapons range, fire everything we have at Anubis's flagship, then retreat before they can mount an effective defense. 30 seconds in. End out. Approaching Calium system, the con officer reported, dropping to impulse in 3, 2, 1. The Enterprise and Defiant emerged from warp simultaneously, their hybrid weapons already charging. Thor's Asgard vessel appeared a split second later, its more advanced sensors having tracked the Federation ships perfectly. Target locked, Worf confirmed. Anubis's flagship, bearing 045 marker 112, distance 80,000 kilometers, firing. The Enterprise unleashed everything. Modified phaser arrays firing neutrino ion-enhanced beams, quantum torpedoes from the Defiant, Asgard energy weapons from Thor's ship. The combined assault struck Anubis's flagship before the Goa'uld could react, before shields could be reinforced, before evasive action could be taken. The ancient shields, which had previously been impervious, collapsed under the neutrino ion assault. The flagship's hull was exposed, vulnerable, taking direct hits from weapons that tore through Naquadah-enhanced armor. Explosions rippled across the massive vessel's surface, Systems failed. Power fluctuated. Target shields down. Data reported significant damage to their propulsion and weapons systems. The flagship is crippled. Finish it, Picard ordered. All weapons. Concentrated fire. Destroy that ship. But Anubis wasn't finished. The flagship, even crippled, possessed capabilities beyond normal Goa'uld technology. A brilliant flash erupted from the ship's core, some kind of ancient energy discharge, and a shockwave expanded outward at faster than light speed. Brace for impact, Picard shouted. The shockwave hit the Enterprise like a physical blow. Consoles exploded. The lights flickered. The ship tumbled, artificial gravity failing for 3 seconds before backups engaged. When the sensors cleared, the tactical situation had changed dramatically. Anubis's flagship was gone, not destroyed, but disappeared. The energy discharge had been some kind of emergency ancient transportation system teleporting the entire vessel across vast distances. Where did he go? Riker demanded. Unknown, Data replied. The energy signature was consistent with ancient wormhole technology, but on a scale I have never encountered. He could be anywhere in the galaxy, possibly beyond. The other Hattaks are powering weapons, Worf reported. They are moving to attack position. Retreat, Picard ordered. We accomplished our mission, we hurt him. Now we live to fight another day. Helm, Warp 9, heading 180 Mark 45. Engage. The Enterprise and Defiant jumped to warp, Thor's vessel following in their hyperspace wake. Behind them the Goa'uld fleet gave chase, but couldn't match Federation warp speeds. Within minutes, the strike force was clear. Damage report, Picard said once they'd established safe distance. Shields down to 40%, Geordi reported from engineering. Hull breaches on decks 12 through 15. 2 casualties in engineering, minor injuries. The modified weapons systems survived, but that energy discharge overloaded several power conduits. We'll need repairs before engaging in another major battle. But we hurt him, Jack said, a grim satisfaction in his voice. We actually hurt Anubis. Proved he's not invincible. That's worth the damage. If he's smart, Sam added, he'll go into hiding while he repairs. That buys us weeks, maybe months. Time to outfit the fleet with hybrid weapons. Time to prepare for his final assault. Or, Data said quietly, his android sensors having detected something no one else had, he will become desperate. And desperate enemies are the most dangerous. The transmission came through 2 days later, encrypted with Tok'ra codes, but carrying a message that turned Picard's blood cold. This is Garshaw of the Tok'ra High Council. We are transmitting coordinates for an emergency meeting. What we have to discuss cannot be communicated over subspace. Captain Picard, Colonel O'Neill, you must come. Alone. What we propose will change everything. The meeting took place on a barren moon in neutral territory. No strategic value, no surveillance satellites, nothing but rock and vacuum. Garshaw waited with 3 other Tok'ra operatives, their expressions carrying a weight that suggested what was coming would not be pleasant. Thank you for coming, Garshaw began. What I'm about to propose. The Tok'ra have debated this for months. The majority voted to proceed. I am one of the minority who opposes. But I am bound by the High Council's decision. Just tell us, Jack said impatiently. We don't have time for political theater. Garshaw activated a holographic display showing an ancient device, a massive installation on a planet Picard didn't recognize. This is Dakara, an ancient world, one of the first places they settled in this galaxy. And buried beneath the surface is a weapon of unimaginable power, the Dakara superweapon. What does it do? Picard asked. It restructures matter, Garshaw replied, at a fundamental level. Across the entire galaxy simultaneously, the ancients built it to terraform planets, to seed life, to reshape creation itself. But it can also be used to destroy, specifically, to target and eliminate specific types of matter, like Goa'uld symbiotes. The implications hit Picard like a physical blow. You want to use it to kill every Goa'uld in the galaxy? Every Goa'uld, Garshaw confirmed. Every system lord, every Jaffa larva, every symbiote. Everywhere simultaneously. One activation, and the Goa'uld Empire ceases to exist. Billions of slaves freed in an instant. No more war. No more suffering. Just over. And how many die? Sam asked, her voice tight. The Goa'uld occupy billions of human hosts. If you kill the symbiotes, you kill the hosts too. Approximately 200 million hosts would die, Garshaw admitted. The Goa'uld themselves, but 8 billion enslaved humans would be freed. The mathematics are clear. The mathematics are genocide, Picard said, his voice hard. You're proposing to murder 200 million people, including Tok'ra, since you carry symbiotes too, to win a war. That's not victory. That's atrocity. It's the only way to stop Anubis. Another, Tok'ra argued. He's building a weapon that will enslave the entire galaxy. Your hybrid weapons hurt him, yes, but he'll adapt. He'll rebuild. He'll come back stronger. The Docker weapon ends it permanently. At the cost of our souls, Garshaw said quietly, which is why I oppose this plan. But I am overruled. Jack stood, his casual demeanor completely gone. You know what? No, hell no. We don't kill billions of people to win. That's exactly what the Goa'uld would do. If we use weapons like that, we become what we're fighting against. Colonel O'Neill is correct, Picard added. The Federation cannot support this plan. Will not support it. If the Tok'ra proceed, our alliance is over. Then the alliance is over. The lead Tok'ra said coldly. We gave you a choice. You chose poorly. When Anubis conquers the Federation, when your people are enslaved or dead, remember, you could have prevented it. You chose morality over survival. I hope your principles comfort you in slavery. The Tok'ra activated their personal ring transporters and disappeared, leaving Picard, Jack, and SG-1 alone on the barren moon. Well, Jack said after a long silence, that went great. We just lost our intelligence network, our best source of information on Goa'uld operations, and any hope of infiltrating Anubis's organization. On the plus side, we maintained our moral high ground. So that's something. We made the right choice, Picard insisted. Using genocide to fight tyranny makes us tyrants. The Federation stands for something better than that. The Federation stands for something, Daniel agreed. But Captain, we need to be practical. Without the Tok'ra, we're blind. We don't know where Anubis is, what he's planning, when he'll attack. We're flying in the dark against an enemy who can strike anywhere, anytime. Then we find another way, Picard said. There has to be an alternative, some advantage we haven't exploited, some weapon we haven't discovered, some strategy that doesn't involve mass murder. There might be, Daniel said slowly, pulling out a tablet he'd been studying obsessively. I've been translating more ancient texts, databases we recovered from that outpost on Chulak before Anubis destroyed it. There are references to a lost city, Atlantis, the crown jewel of ancient civilization containing their most advanced technology. If we could find it, we'd have access to weapons that could stop Anubis without committing genocide, Sam finished. But Daniel, Atlantis is a myth. The ancients supposedly built it in the Pegasus galaxy, an entirely different galaxy millions of light years away. Even if it exists, we have no way to reach it. Actually, Data interjected, having been processing the ancient database himself, there are references to an experimental ancient wormhole drive. A technology that creates stable wormholes across intergalactic distances. If we could locate and activate such a device, we could reach Pegasus, Picard said, hope kindling in his chest. Find Atlantis. Acquire ancient weapons powerful enough to stop Anubis. It's a desperate gamble, but it's better than genocide. And if Atlantis doesn't exist? Riker asked. If it's just a myth, we'd be stranding ourselves in another galaxy chasing a fairy tale. Then we're stranded, Picard replied. But we're stranded with our principles intact. And that matters more than survival at any cost. The ancient outpost on Proclarush Taunas had been abandoned for 10 million years. The planet itself was hostile. Toxic atmosphere, seismic instability, automated defenses that tried to kill anything that approached. But Daniel's translations had been clear. This was where the ancients had built their intergalactic wormhole drive. The away team, Picard, Data, Sam, Daniel, and Jack, materialized via transporter in a chamber deep beneath the planet's surface. The architecture was unmistakably ancient, elegant curves, crystalline structures, technology that seemed organic rather than mechanical. This is it, Daniel breathed, running his hands over symbols carved into the walls. These inscriptions describe the Atlantis expedition. The ancients built a city in the Pegasus galaxy millions of years ago. But something went wrong. They were forced to abandon it, returning to the Milky Way through this wormhole drive. And then they sealed the drive, preventing anyone from following them back. Why seal it? Sam asked. Why not just destroy the technology? Because they hope to return someday, Daniel replied. These texts, they're filled with sadness, regret. The ancients built something beautiful in Pegasus, and they had to leave it behind. They sealed the wormhole drive to prevent their enemies from following them back here, but they left it functional in case future generations wanted to reclaim what they'd lost. Data approached a control console, his android hands interfacing with the ancient technology through methods that shouldn't have worked but somehow did. The wormhole drive is operational, power systems functional, destination coordinates locked, Lantea, Pegasus Galaxy. However, there is a significant energy requirement. Activating the drive will drain the facility's zero-point module completely. We will have only one chance to use this technology. One shot, Jack summarized. We go to Pegasus, find Atlantis, and if it's not there or if we can't figure out how to get back, we're stuck in another galaxy with no way home. Anybody want to reconsider this plan? The alternative is allowing the Tok'ra to commit genocide or letting Anubis conquer the galaxy. Picard said, We're out of good options. This is the least terrible choice remaining. Then we're going, Sam decided. But Captain, we should bring the Enterprise. If Atlantis exists, we'll need a starship to explore the Pegasus galaxy, to establish supply lines, to defend ourselves if there are threats we haven't anticipated. Agreed, Picard said. Mr. Data, can this wormhole drive create a passage large enough for a galaxy-class starship? Data's fingers moved across the ancient console, processing information at computer speed. Yes, the wormhole can be expanded to a diameter of 600 meters, sufficient for the Enterprise to pass through. However, the energy drain will be even greater. Once we activate the drive, we will have approximately 47 seconds to traverse the wormhole before it collapses. Then we'd better not waste time, Picard said. He tapped his comb badge. Enterprise, this is the away team. Prepare for emergency wormhole transit. We're going to Pegasus, and we're leaving in 5 minutes. All hands to stations. The Enterprise dropped out of warp at the coordinates Data had provided, positioning herself directly in front of the ancient facility. Around her, space began to shimmer as the wormhole drive activated, drawing power from the zero-point module buried 10 million years ago. Wormhole forming, Data reported from the science station. Stable aperture achieved. Diameter 620 meters. Duration 47 seconds. Captain, we must go now. Helm, full impulse, Picard ordered. Take us through. The Enterprise accelerated toward the wormhole, a swirling vortex of energy that looked like a tunnel through reality itself. The ship entered the aperture, and suddenly everything changed. Space became wrong. Light bent in impossible directions. Stars were visible but distorted, like looking at them through water. The ship vibrated with harmonics that made the hull sing. Geordi's visor was showing him wavelength that shouldn't exist. Data's sensors were recording readings that violated known physics. Transit time 3.2 seconds, Data reported. We are traveling through a higher dimension, bypassing normal space entirely. Distance covered 3 million light years and increasing. We are leaving the Milky Way galaxy, and then they emerged. The wormhole collapsed behind them, permanent, no way back. But ahead, my God, Riker breathed. The Pegasus galaxy filled the view screen, a spiral of stars different from the Milky Way, more compact, younger, brilliant with blue-white stars indicating recent formation. And below, a planet, blue oceans, green continents, and in the ocean, a city, visible from orbit. A city the size of Manhattan, built on the water, its towers reaching toward the sky. Ancient architecture on a scale that dwarfed anything the Federation had ever built. Beautiful, impossible, real. Atlantis, Daniel whispered. It's real. After all these years of searching, it's actually real. Sensors detect the city is underwater, Data reported, submerged approximately 200 meters below the ocean surface. However, there are power signatures, weak but present. The city is not dead, it's dormant. Then we wake it up, Picard decided. Transporter room, prepare to beam an away team to those coordinates. We're going to explore Atlantis. But as the away team materialized in the city's ancient control room, a chamber of crystalline towers and holographic displays that activated at their presence, something else woke up. Across the Pegasus galaxy, in countless hibernation ships buried in frozen worlds, beneath ice sheets that had covered them for 10,000 years, sensors activated. The Wraith, ancient enemies of the ancients, vampiric aliens who fed on human life force, detected the sudden power surge from Atlantis. The city was awake, which meant prey had arrived, and the Wraith were hungry. Captain Data's voice came urgently over the comm from the Enterprise. I am detecting multiple energy signatures across the Pegasus galaxy. Hundreds of ships emerging from what appear to be hibernation states. Their design is biological rather than technological, and they are all heading toward our position. Wraith, Dr. Carson Beckett said. He was a Federation medical officer who'd been studying ancient gene therapy and had insisted on joining this mission. Dear Lord, the ancient records were right. The Wraith drove the ancients from Pegasus, and we just rang the dinner bell. Picard looked at the team around him, Daniel, Sam, Jack, Data, Riker, and saw the same realization in their eyes. They'd found Atlantis. They'd discovered the greatest ancient technology in 2 galaxies. They had access to weapons that could stop Anubis, but they'd also awakened something worse, something that had been sleeping for 10,000 years, waiting for someone foolish enough to return to Pegasus, and that something was coming for them right now. The first Wraith Hive ship arrived 6 hours after Atlantis awakened. It dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Lantean system, a massive vessel that looked more grown than built, its hull covered in organic armor that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. The ship was 3 kilometers long, shaped like some deep-sea predator, and it radiated hunger.
What in God's name is that? Riker demanded, staring at the sensor readings from the Enterprise's bridge.
A Wraith Hive ship, Dr. Beckett explained, his hands shaking as he pulled up ancient database entries. The ancients fought them for centuries. The Wraith are a hybrid species, human-based genetics crossed with an organism called the Aratus bug. They feed on human life force, draining years from their victims in seconds. They're regenerative, telepathic, and utterly ruthless. And that hive ship, it can carry thousands of them. 1 ship, Worf said from Tactical. We can destroy 1 ship. Recommend we engage before it reaches Atlantis. There are more coming, Data reported, his sensors detecting hyperspace signatures throughout the Pegasus galaxy. 12 additional hive ships have emerged from hibernation. 27, 41. The count continues to rise. Captain, by my calculations, there are at least 300 Wraith Hive ships in this galaxy, and they are all converging on our position. The bridge went silent. 300 ships, each one massive, powerful, filled with creatures that fed on humans. The mathematics were impossible. We need to evacuate, Picard decided. Get our people out of Atlantis, return to the Milky Way. We can't, Sam's voice came over the comm from Atlantis. The wormhole drive we used to get here, it depleted the 0-point module. We'd need another ZPM to power a return trip, and we don't have one. Captain, we're stuck here until we can find a power source capable of intergalactic travel. Then we defend Atlantis, Picard said. It's the only city in this galaxy with ancient weapons that might stop the Wraith. If we can activate the city's shields, its drone weapons. Already working on it, Daniel interrupted. But Captain, there's a problem. Atlantis is submerged. The city's systems are designed to operate above water, the shields won't form properly underwater, and the weapons platforms can't target effectively. We need to raise the city to the surface. How long? Picard asked. Unknown, Sam replied. We're working through ancient control interfaces that are millions of years old. Best guess, 2 hours to figure out how to surface the city, assuming we can even... We don't have 2 hours, Data interrupted. The lead Wraith Hive ship will be in weapons range in 47 minutes. Then we buy time, Picard decided. Enterprise, we engage the Wraith. Hold them off while the team raises Atlantis. Mr. Worf, are our hybrid weapons still operational? Affirmative, Worf confirmed. Asgard enhanced phasers at full power. Torpedo tubes loaded. Then we show the Wraith what the Federation is made of, Picard said. Helm, intercept course. Maximum impulse. Red alert. The Enterprise accelerated toward the Wraith Hive ship, and the alien vessel responded by launching fighters, organic ships called darts, that moved with unsettling fluidity, more like flying predators than spacecraft. They swarmed toward the Enterprise by the hundreds. Incoming, Worf announced. 300 Wraith darts, closing fast. They are not using conventional weapons. Sensors detect some kind of organic energy beam. The darts opened fire. Bright green energy beams lanced across space, striking the Enterprise's shields. Unlike phaser fire or plasma weapons, these beams seemed to drain energy directly from the shield grid. Shields down to 83%. Data reported. The Wraith weapons are designed to deplete energy reserves rather than cause kinetic damage. Highly effective against sustained defensive systems. Return fire, Picard ordered. Phasers. Rapid dispersal pattern. Clear those fighters. The Enterprise's modified phaser arrays lit up, sweeping across space with the neutrino ion enhancement that had proven effective against ancient shields. The beams caught dozens of darts, and the organic ships simply disintegrated, unable to withstand directed energy weapons designed to penetrate ancient-level defenses. But more kept coming. For every dart destroyed, 2 more launched from the hive ship. The Wraith were testing the Enterprise, probing its defenses, learning its capability. Hive ship entering weapons range, Worf reported. They are powering what appears to be a primary weapon. Energy signature. Unknown classification. Captain, I have no tactical data on Wraith heavy weapons.
Then we're about to find out, Picard said. Evasive pattern Delta 7. Don't let them get a clean shot.
The hive ship fired. A massive beam of that same green energy, but concentrated, powerful, devastating. It struck the Enterprise's shields and ripped through them like tissue paper, overloading the grid, dropping shield strength to 40% in a single hit. Shields failing, Data announced. The Wraith primary weapon operates on a principle similar to their dart weapons, but scaled to capital ship level. It is draining our shield energy faster than the generators can compensate. Target that weapon with everything we have, Picard ordered. Quantum torpedoes, full spread. Worf, fire. 6 quantum torpedoes streaked toward the hive ship, and the Wraith vessel's organic armor absorbed most of the damage, regenerating almost as fast as it was destroyed. The ship was biological. It healed. It adapted. This isn't working, Riker said, watching the tactical display with growing alarm. We're hurting it, but not fast enough. And 11 more hive ships are entering the system. Captain, we need to retreat to Atlantis. Let the city's defenses handle this. The city doesn't have operational defenses yet, Picard countered. We need more time. Captain! Sam's voice burst over the comm, excited and terrified simultaneously. We figured out how to surface Atlantis. Initiating protocols now. On the planet below, the ocean began to churn. Water displacement on a scale that created tsunamis. And slowly, majestically, impossibly, the city of Atlantis rose from the depths. Towers emerged first, covered in ancient metal that gleamed in the sunlight. Then the outer piers, massive structures designed to dock ancient warships. Then the central spire, kilometers tall, topped with what Daniel recognized as the control room where he'd been working frantically. The city broke the surface completely, water cascading off its hull, and ancient systems that had been dormant for 10,000 years activated automatically. Shields formed a brilliant blue dome that covered the entire city. Weapons platforms rotated into position, dozens of drone launchers, each containing thousands of the same ancient weapons that had proven so effective against the Goa'uld. Atlantis is operational, Sam reported. Shields at full power, weapons online, and Captain, we found a partially charged ZPM in the city's power core. Not enough to return home, but enough to power the city's defenses for days, maybe weeks. Then use those defenses, Picard ordered. Target the Wraith fleet. Show them what ancient technology can do. From Atlantis, golden streaks erupted. Ancient drones launching by the hundreds, accelerating to impossible speeds, weaving through space with intelligence that suggested they were alive. They struck the Wraith hive ships with devastating precision, phasing through organic armor, detonating inside critical systems. The lead hive ship, the one that had been engaging the Enterprise, took 40 drones directly to its central core. It shuddered, its bioluminescent patterns flickering, and then it exploded in a cascade of green energy and biological debris. 1 hive ship destroyed. Data confirmed. However, the remaining 11 hive ships are adapting formation. They are spreading out, preventing concentration of drone fire. And there's something else, Sam added, her voice tight. I'm detecting a hyperspace signature. Big one. Really big. Something's coming through. And it's not Wraith. Space rippled. A massive hyperspace window opened. And what emerged made Picard's blood run cold. Anubis's flagship, damaged from their last encounter but still functional, dropped into normal space, accompanied by 30 Goa'uld Hattacks. The system lord had followed them across intergalactic space, tracking them through the wormhole, arriving at exactly the worst possible moment. Anubis, Chulak said, his voice carrying a weight of inevitability. He has come to claim Atlantis for himself. Now 3 fleets occupied the same space. Federation, 1 ship, Wraith, 11 hive ships, and Goa'uld, 31 vessels. And all of them wanted the ancient city. This is officially the worst day ever. Jack's voice came over the comm from Atlantis. Just so we're clear on that. The 3-way battle that erupted over Lantia defied all tactical logic. The Wraith attacked everything. Federation, Goa'uld, didn't matter. They were hungry, and everything in the system was potential food. Their hive ships spread out, launching thousands of darts, firing their energy-draining weapons at any target that presented itself. The Goa'uld focused on Atlantis, recognizing the city as the prize. Anubis wanted ancient technology, and here was the greatest concentration of it in 2 galaxies. His Hattacks formed an assault formation, ignoring the Wraith temporarily, pushing toward the city, and the Enterprise stood alone, defending Atlantis from both threats simultaneously. Target priority, Worf demanded, his tactical display overwhelmed with contacts. Everything, Picard said grimly. Shoot everything that's not us. Wraith, Goa'uld, they're all enemies now. The Enterprise's hybrid weapons system proved its worth. Modified phasers tore through Wraith organic armor and Goa'uld shields with equal efficiency. Quantum torpedoes found targets in both fleets. But 1 starship, however advanced, couldn't hold off 42 capital ships indefinitely. Shields down to 30%, data reported. We have sustained damage to decks 7 through 12. Casualties mounting. Captain, we cannot maintain this defensive posture. On Atlantis, the away team had activated the city's main weapons systems, and drones streamed from launchers faster than the enemy could track. Ancient technology designed to fight the Wraith specifically, millions of years of evolution in weapons systems was proving devastatingly effective. 3 Wraith hive ships destroyed, then 5, then 7. The ancient drones didn't just damage, they targeted critical systems with surgical precision, phasing through hulls to detonate inside organic cores where the Wraith couldn't regenerate fast enough. But the Goa'uld were adapting. Anubis, with his ancient knowledge, recognized the drone threat and deployed a countermeasure, massive energy shields projected by his flagship that intercepted drones before they could reach the Hattack fleet. He's blocking the drones, Sam reported. Anubis's flagship is generating a shield matrix that covers his entire fleet. The drones can't penetrate it. They're detonating against the shield harmlessly. What about the city's main weapon? Daniel asked. The ancient database mentions something called a directed energy platform like the Antarctica outpost, but scaled up to city-level power. Can we use that? Checking, Sam said, her fingers flying across ancient controls. Yes, it's called the primary lance. A massive directed energy beam powered by the ZPM. But using it will drain the ZPM completely. We'll have enough power for 1 shot. Just 1. And then Atlantis goes dark. No shields. No weapons. No power at all. 1 shot to end this, Jack said. Where do we aim? Anubis or the Wraith? Neither. Picard's voice came over the comm. Both. Sam, can you target that beam to create a chain reaction? Hit Anubis's shield matrix hard enough to overload it, and the feedback might destroy his flagship and damage nearby vessels. Wraith and Goa'uld both. Maybe, Sam replied, working through the calculations frantically. If I target the shield matrix junction point with maximum power, the energy backlash could cascade through both fleets. But Captain, even if it works, even if we destroy both fleets, Atlantis will be defenseless afterward. No shields, no weapons, no power, and we'll be stranded. The Enterprise can't carry 1,400 people, our crew, plus the Atlantis expedition. We'd have to leave most of our people behind. The bridge went silent. Everyone understood what Picard was being asked to decide: sacrifice the Enterprise crew's chance of returning home to save the galaxy from Anubis and the Wraith. "Captain," Riker said quietly, "it's your call. But for what it's worth, Starfleet didn't send us to Pegasus to run away. We came here to stop Anubis. If this is how we do it, then this is how we do it," Picard finished. "Counselor Troy, put me on shipwide." The channel opened. Every crew member on the Enterprise, 1,112 people who'd followed him into this mission, heard their captain's voice. "This is Captain Picard. You all know our situation. We can destroy both the Wraith and Goa'uld fleets with Atlantis' weapon. But doing so will drain the city's power completely. We'll be stranded in the Pegasus galaxy with no way home. No rescue for months, possibly years. Some of us may never see the Federation again." He paused, letting that sink in. "This is not an order. This is a choice. The decision affects everyone aboard this ship. So I'm putting it to a vote. Should we fire the weapon, strand ourselves, but save both galaxies from these threats? Or should we preserve our ability to return home and let the battle continue?" The responses came in immediately. Data coordinated them through the ship's computer, tallying votes from every deck, every department, every crew member. The result was unanimous. Not a single dissenting vote. "Captain," data reported, "the crew votes to proceed. 1,012 in favor, 0 opposed." Picard felt pride swell in his chest, pride in his crew, in their courage, in their willingness to sacrifice for principles larger than themselves. "Very well," he said. "Sam, prepare the primary lance. Target Anubis's shield matrix. Fire when ready." "Aye, sir," Sam replied, her hands moving across ancient controls with the confidence of someone who'd just committed to the most important decision of her life. "All personnel," Picard continued, "evacuate Atlantis to the Enterprise. We're bringing everyone aboard before we fire. I won't risk leaving people on an unpowered city when we don't know what this weapon will do." The next 15 minutes were chaos. Transporters running continuously, beaming Atlantis personnel to the Enterprise, the ship's crew quarters, cargo bays, holodecks, every available space filled with people as 1,400 souls crammed into a starship designed for last transport complete, Data announced. All personnel accounted for. "Sam, fire the weapon," Picard ordered. From Atlantis's central spire, energy gathered, pulling power from the ZPM in a cascade that made every sensor on the Enterprise scream warnings. The buildup took 7 seconds, and in those 7 seconds, Picard saw the future. Either they'd save 2 galaxies, or they'd die trying. The primary lance fired, a beam of pure ancient energy, golden, brilliant, containing power that made photon torpedoes look like flashlights, streaked across space and struck Anubis's shield matrix directly at its junction point. The matrix shattered. Not failed, shattered. The feedback energy cascaded through every ship connected to the shield network. Anubis's flagship took the brunt of the overload. Its ancient systems couldn't handle the feedback, and the vessel exploded in a detonation visible from 3 star systems away. The cascade continued. 20 Hattocks caught in the energy wave, their shields overloading, their reactors breaching. 4 Wraith hive ships, struck by the same energy, their organic systems cooked by radiation designed specifically to kill them. In 7 seconds, the primary lance destroyed 35 capital ships, both enemy fleets crippled. The threat ended, and then Atlantis went dark. Every light extinguished, every system offline. The ZPM drained completely. "It worked," Sam breathed, staring at the readings in disbelief. "Dear God, it actually worked. At what cost?" Picard asked quietly. "Enterprise status, functional," Data reported. "We sustained moderate damage from enemy fire but remain operational. However, Captain, we are stranded. The Enterprise's warp drive cannot achieve intergalactic travel. We are 3 million light-years from the Federation with no way home." The Enterprise hung in orbit above Atlantis, 1,400 people aboard a ship designed for 1,000, stranded in a galaxy they barely understood, surrounded by the wreckage of 3 fleets. "So, Jack said, breaking the silence in the observation lounge where Picard had gathered his senior staff in SG-1, who wants to talk about our long-term survival strategy. Because I'm thinking we might need one. Agreed, Picard said. Geordi, can we repair Atlantis? Get the city operational again? Not without a new ZPM. Geordi replied. We used the last one completely, and according to Sam's research, ZPMs are extremely rare. Even the ancients only built a few thousand over millions of years. Finding another one in Pegasus could take decades. Then we establish a permanent presence, Picard decided. Atlantis becomes a Federation outpost. We use the Enterprise to explore Pegasus, search for ZPMs, make contact with local populations. Eventually we'll find a way home. Until then, we survive. Captain, Data said, I am detecting an energy signature, hyperspace window forming, unknown configuration. On the view screen, space rippled, not with Goa'uld hyperspace or Wraith technology but with something else. Something familiar. Thor's Asgard vessel emerged, accompanied by 3 other Asgard ships. This is Commander Thor, the transmission came through. Captain Picard, we received your automated distress beacon before you entered the wormhole. We have been tracking your position for the past 8 hours. When we detected the massive energy discharge from Atlantis, we accelerated our response. Thor, Picard said, hope flooding through him. You followed us. We concluded that allowing the Enterprise to be lost in Pegasus was unacceptable, Thor replied. Also, the Asgard High Council wished to ensure Anubis did not acquire Atlantis. It appears you handled that matter yourselves, quite thoroughly. Can you get us home? Riker asked. Eventually, Thor said. The Asgard possess intergalactic hyperspace technology. However, transporting 1,400 people across 3 million light-years will require multiple trips. We can begin evacuations immediately, but full retrieval will take approximately 3 weeks. What about the Enterprise? Picard asked. The vessel is too large to transport via Asgard beaming technology, Thor replied. However, we can provide technical specifications for modifying your warp drive to achieve limited intergalactic capability. With our assistance, you could return to the Milky Way in approximately 4 months. 4 months versus being stranded forever, Jack said. I'll take it. 3 months later, Milky Way galaxy. The USS Enterprise D dropped out of modified warp drive at the edge of the Sol system, her hull scarred from the journey home but her crew intact. News of their mission, the Battle of Atlantis, the defeat of Anubis, the discovery of a new galaxy, had preceded them through Asgard communications. Starfleet had sent a welcoming committee, 30 starships in parade formation, celebrating the Enterprise's return. Admiral Ross's face appeared on the view screen, grinning broadly. Captain Picard, welcome home. I'm pleased to report that during your absence, we've made considerable progress. With Anubis dead and his fleet destroyed, the Goa'uld system lords have fractured. Baal attempted to seize power, but the Free Jaffa nation led by Teal'c's mentor Bratak launched a successful rebellion. Billions of slaves have been freed. The Goa'uld Empire is collapsing. And the Tok'ra, Picard asked. Contacted us 3 weeks ago, Ross replied. Gershaw formally apologized for the Dakara proposal. With Anubis dead, the Tok'ra High Council voted to abandon the superweapon plan. The alliance has been restored. What about Atlantis? Sam asked. Occupied by a joint Federation SGC expedition, Ross said. We sent the USS Voyager. Captain Janeway volunteered immediately, plus support vessels and 3,000 personnel. Atlantis is now a permanent Federation outpost in the Pegasus galaxy, serving as our foothold for exploration and diplomacy. Picard sat back, processing everything. They'd done it. Against impossible odds across 2 galaxies despite being stranded and outnumbered, they'd actually won. Admiral Picard said, requesting permission to dock at Earth Space Dock. This crew deserves rest, and a very long shore leave. Permission granted, Ross replied. And Captain, the Federation Council wants to meet with you. They're talking about establishing formal diplomatic relations with the Free Jaffa nation, expanding the alliance with the Asgard, and creating a new branch of Starfleet specifically for Stargate operations. Your mission changed everything. The galaxy is opening up in ways we never imagined. 2 weeks later, Stargate Command, Cheyenne Mountain. Picard stood in the SGC gate room with Jack O'Neill, watching technicians install a Federation transporter pad next to the Stargate. The two technologies, warp drive and gate travel, were being integrated, creating a network that would let the Federation reach anywhere in the galaxy within minutes. "So," Jack said, his casual demeanor back in full force, "you saved 2 galaxies, liberated billions of slaves, and established the Federation as a major galactic power. Not bad for a guy who started out thinking the Prime Directive meant staying out of other people's business." "The Prime Directive still matters," Picard replied. "But we learned there's a difference between respecting cultural development and ignoring slavery. Sometimes intervention isn't just justified, it's required. And sometimes," Daniel added, joining them in the gate room, "you find lost cities, activate ancient weapons, and accidentally wake up vampire aliens. You know, typical Tuesday." The Stargate activated behind them, the familiar kawoosh of the event horizon forming. Through it stepped Chulak, returning from Chulak, where he'd been helping establish the Free Jaffa government. "Captain Picard," Chulak said, inclining his head respectfully, "I bring greetings from the Free Jaffa Nation. Our people wish to thank the Federation for their role in our liberation. Without your intervention, we would still be slaves. Now we are free. That is a debt we can never repay." "You already have," Picard said. "You showed us that freedom is worth fighting for. That some principles matter more than policy. We're the ones who should be thanking you." Jack gestured to the Stargate, then to the transporter pad. "So, Captain, ready to tell your people they've been doing space travel the hard way? 'Cause I've gotta say, once you've used a Stargate, warp drive feels kinda slow." Picard smiled, a rare, genuine expression. "I think they've earned the knowledge. The galaxy just got smaller, Colonel, and considerably more interesting." Daniel pulled out his tablet, already making notes. "You know what this means, right? We can explore both galaxies now. Federation ships can use Stargates for rapid deployment. SGC teams can request Starfleet support. We're not just 2 organizations anymore, we're partners, a real alliance between 2 versions of Earth." "2 civilizations," Picard agreed. "1 mission." Sam approached, carrying a pad showing star charts, not just the Milky Way, but Pegasus too, with Atlantis marked as a bright point of light. The Federation Council approved funding for 10 new Galaxy-class ships specifically for Pegasus operations. They're calling it the Atlantis Fleet, and Captain, they want you to command it." Picard looked at the star charts, at the 2 galaxies now connected by Stargate and warp drive, at the infinite possibilities spreading before them. "Mr. Data," he said into his comb badge, "prepare the Enterprise for long-range operations. We have a galaxy, 2 galaxies, to explore." "Aye, Captain," Data's voice replied. "Course plotted, ready when you are." The Stargate shut down. The transporter pad hummed with power. 2 technologies, 2 civilizations, 2 versions of humanity united now. Picard turned to Jack, extended his hand. "Thank you, Colonel, for showing us what we'd been missing, for teaching us that the galaxy is larger and more complex than we imagined, for being partners." Jack shook his hand firmly. "Thank you for not being boring. Also for the replicators. Those things are amazing. I can get pizza anytime I want now." That alone was worth the alliance. As they stood there, Starfleet and SGC, Federation and Earth, future and present joined across centuries and timelines, the Stargate activated again. Coordinates from Atlantis. A message coming through. Captain Janeway's voice emerged. "SGC, Enterprise, this is Atlantis. We've detected something. An ancient structure on the edge of Pegasus. The database calls it, well, it doesn't translate well, but it might be a gateway to another galaxy. Permission to investigate." Picard and Jack exchanged glances. "Permission granted," they said simultaneously. "Because that's what explorers did. That's what Starfleet and SGC had always done. They found gates, opened them, walked through, and discovered what lay beyond. 2 civilizations, 1 mission, infinite possibilities. The adventure was just beginning."